the glorious weather and the greenery and all those things. Like the summers here are just absolute bangers.
Having one right now.
But the whole, like, for a city this size, we have the worst road engineering setup.
Oh, if there's ice in my neighborhood, I won't make it to work.
Forget the ice.
Even
like,
if you pay me millions of dollars.
There is basically one way in and out of Newburgh. Like you can out. You can go out the south way.
Sure, you can go round ways, but there's really only
like
one.
Like
I know
a direct
the area
path.
decently.
It's 99. And if there is anything that blocks anything anywhere, it just screws everything up. And then you have to cross, no matter what, you have to cross multiple different railroads. Like it's just like, and during that time of the day, for whatever reason, we run 3-mile-long trains through the city.
Isn't there that famous promo? It might be still airing right now, where Dusty asks you about this, and he kind of says, "Hey, if you know the train's coming every day, why don't you work to avoid the train coming every day?"
I'm sorry, I don't check the Union Pacific Railway freaking traffic.
You might have to, Daniel.
What's funny is
you might have to.
I've got a buddy who was like one of the lead safety dudes, like oversaw like an entire region.
Yeah, my stepdad's a train engineer guy.
Okay, yeah. And the things he has told me, and this isn't like Union Pacific, but like derailments that happen around the country, buddy.
My pants got a little tight there for no reason whatsoever.
It made me go, oh yeah, I don't ever want to be on a train. Like it happens far more often than you think it does.
And that's so sad because I think there's something romantic about a train.
Sure. Have you ever taken a train anywhere?
Yeah.
I've done the Portland to Seattle one.
I've done that a couple times. I've also done Spokane to Portland.
Okay.
I lived.
Is the one that follows the river?
It kind of
and then it kicks up.
Yep, totally. Yeah. And it's
gotta be
awesome.
That's gotta be a pretty
it's
ride.
It's really rad. It goes on the Washington side, not the Oregon side.
Yeah, it goes on the north side. Yeah.
It's beautiful, but yeah, if I'm gonna die, then no thanks.
Yeah, no hard pass. But I will say, driving the gorge, I've driven through. I want to say something like 34, 35 states. I've been to almost every state, but I have never had a more white knuckle experience than driving through the gorge when it was like 100-mile-an-hour winds and raining.
Oh yeah, I've done the snowstorms.
Buddy,
I got out of the Dalles once and was going like 5 miles an hour from Hood River to Portland.
Yeah.
And I had learned 10 minutes before I passed Hood River, they had shut down 84.
Behind you?
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, sweet. So I'm on a shutdown highway right now. This is fantastic.
I will never forget it. I was going like maybe 15, 20 miles an hour, and I had the wheel turned like probably 30 degrees.
And you're still going straight?
Still going straight. And I'm watching this semi-truck in front of me, the trailer get blown.
Tell my mama I love her.
Buddy, the grip I had on the steering wheel would have left extra indentations, and my butt might as well have been a suction cup.
Yeah, like you just got blisters.
Oh, dude, you couldn't have pulled me off that seat. I was clenched so tight.
Making diamonds.
I have never, ever been more terrified driving than that moment, because you couldn't see 5 feet in front of you because the rain was going sideways and it was pouring with crazy winds. I'm just sitting there going, why? What? Like Lewis and Clark, when they came down, that had to be like, screw this, dude.
No kidding, man. Like, I don't know.
You imagine being on a boat?
Would you rather be in a boat?
No, not in that wind.
I was about to say, like, it's funny.
You're just getting slammed against the shore.
It's funny that our mass transportation is still cars, that we've been doing this for, 70, 80 years in cars, and they're some of the most dangerous things you can step into. Yeah. Not to mention that we're all just blindly following the same rules. Mm-hmm. We're just blindly accepting the rules.
That this person is going to behave.
Turning, how you merge, how you change lanes, your speed, etc. And there's dolts out there that do crazy things, of course. But the 90% of us are just, again, blindly following along like little lemmings, praying that we're not going to drive this car off a cliff with everybody else.
That this person in front of you or coming at you doesn't decide, I don't want to live anymore.
Yeah, I've decided, no thank you. And, ooh, that Bronco looks cool.
Yeah, it's just like... And it's just so, like, I did I lived in North Dakota, and they're like, yeah, it's, 10 inches of ice for 6 months out of the year. But, like, it was kind of weird. Like, my girlfriend at the time lived in Fargo, and I was in Grand Forks, which was about 40 minutes away. Okay. But it's just basically a straight line.
I think you mispronounced Dakota. It's pronounced Dakota.
Yeah, I know. Ura, Dakota, eh? Yeah. But I used to make that drive at like 100, 110.
Yeah.
And if you'd slow down in the winter, you would slow down to like 90, even with that much ice, because like it didn't matter how fast you were going. If you were going off the road, you were going off the road, and you were going into the snowbank. Like, that's just what it was, and it was just.
It might be better to not go slower.
You just kind of
and you just keep going. Don't stop.
Yeah,
you tap that brake, you go.
Oh, I'm telling you, like if you've ever lived in a place like that that gets that kind of snow and ice, you don't touch the brakes. You try to counter correct and you try to counter steer, but it's a full on let Jesus take the wheel situation of like.
Fortunately, I have
Oof.
not.
I only went off the road once, and it was I was taking leave and coming home. But I used to drive from Grand Forks to Minneapolis because flying out of Grand Forks would cost anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000 more than if I would drive 3.5 hours to Minneapolis.
Sure.
Well, I left at like midnight for like a 6 o'clock flight, and in between like Bemidji and Minneapolis, this guy ran me off the road. Like there's nobody. I mean, nobody on the road. It's frozen, icy, all those kind of things. This guy roars past me at like 120 and just cuts me off. Like right past the front of my car.
Excuse me, sir.
And
Excuse
I have to turn or he's gonna hit me.
Yeah.
And I end up in this snowbank, and thankfully I had this yellow Blazer that like stood out.
Oh yeah.
But I had the snow kit. I had the rock ice packs,
the whole thing, a flare,
shovel.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 20 below. I had like a parka like out of Star Wars. And like a parka that literally like covered.
You're on Hoth.
Whole face went
Cutting
down.
open tauntauns.
Yeah, passed down
Nerd
my
alert.
knees. I had rubber boots that I could slide over and gloves that went up past my elbow. And I'm trying to dig this thing out. And I'm on this hill. I'm like, I'm so screwed. I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's 20 below. Like, I can't stay outside digging for that long because if you stay out in that cold for that long, you will do damage. And this dude in this old Charger stops out of nowhere. He's like, I don't know, man.
Outlook not so good, says the Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah, like, I go, yeah, I know. And I'm like, do you want to try it? He's like, I got the horsepower. So he's got this, 350, 400 horsepower.
Try not to kill the bumper, but get me out of here.
Oh, well, we went frame to frame with rope.
Yeah.
He gunned it, I gunned it, and I just barely swung it up. And he just kept, like, he started to slow down. I got the window down. I'm screaming, go! And we get it back out on the road. Unhook. I had some cash in my wallet. I gave the guy $100, and I go, I don't care if you're going to take it or not. You're going to take it, dude. You have no idea like what you just saved me.
You just saved my life.
I'm like, who knows if anybody's going to stop until the sun comes up.
I hope that guy moved to Portland, Oregon, is listening to this.
I hope so.
That
If whoever that dude is out there, you were a lifesaver.
You are owed a big one
because
in life.
It would have cost me a fortune to change the flight because the next flight to Portland out of there wasn't until like the next day.
Yeah, you'd have been hosed big time.
Come on, man.
Oakley Dokley. Well, we do got a show for you today. There is a lot to get to. Funny enough, this Tuesday became kind of a wild adventure.
Yeah, we were expecting some fireworks in the NBA, and even these aren't even the fireworks that I've heard.
Yeah, this is just the beginning of the party, which should be kind of a wild party. There's a lot to get to, too. We'll get to some NFL news in the 2 o'clock hour. We'll touch on a little bit of baseball because it's a holiday today. We'll do that in the second hour, plus everybody's favorite worst day on the web. But, the English always say when they're trying to win a World Cup, it's coming home. Is he coming home? That's next. Danny and Friends, 1080 The Fan.
My butt might as well have been a suction cup.
I don't know if you knew I had that. You said it in the break, and I was
yeah.
like, little does this guy know
Oh, yeah.
that I know what's going on.
Look, Hawk's an all-timer.
He is an all-timer, and what's terrible is that I hate the White Sox.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely cannot stand them.
The crazy thing is they had Hawk, and then they had, what's his name, who just left for the Tigers, filled in for the Blazers. God dang it. It's killing me. He's
I have
incredible.
no idea. I don't listen to Tigers broadcasts.
Oh, God.
Or White Sox broadcasts.
He does TV for NBC. God dang it. Russ, do you know, filled in for Calabro this year?
Travis Demers?
No. Out of market guy. God, I can't remember his name, but the White Sox had him and lost him.
Not Pete Pranica.
No. God, I'm going to Google this while we talk about Damian Lillard.
Well, speaking of Damian Lillard, huh? You know, you go to bed sometimes.
Jason Benetti.
Oh, okay. Yes. Benetti's great.
But he was with the Sox.
That is
stole him
true.
away
I
from him.
actually did see him on a White Sox game or on a Tigers game.
Oh,
the
he's
other day.
incredible.
You know, you go to bed sometimes and you got you're thinking, how are we going to do this show tomorrow? All right, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then I woke up this morning and was like, whoa, SGA makes a lot of money. Well, I guess we'll talk about that. Whoa! Wow! Oh, all right.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee Bucks are waiving point guard Damian Lillard. They are going to stretch his $113 million contract over the next, 6 years? 5 years?
Yeah.
Is that what you were saying in the update? 5 years? 5 years, but he is now a free agent. Let's not forget he did tear his Achilles, so he will be out for the next season. But Damian Lillard is a free agent, and I'm curious. Now, the headline states this as to make room for the Miles Turner deal, which is a big move for the Bucks, and we can talk about that as well.
It's a two-parter. Like that's the reason they did what they did.
The Miles Turner is a huge grab for them, and even a worse loss for the Pacers. But let's center this around Damian Lillard, and how does this all come to fruition? Like, this is their guy. Imagine the draft capital, the assets, the money they put into getting this guy and making this happen, and now it's over in a flash.
Yeah, and that's the thing about you've heard me say this now a couple times. CBAs define eras. And
we've talked about this. Like, this is a whole new ball game.
And Ramona Shelburne had it earlier today on Twitter. Ramona Shelburne, ESPN, was like, don't expect this to be the last time we see guys waived and stretched, because like the implications of being in the first, second aprons, the punitive nature. It is destroying the Celtics.
Dude, second apron is the trendiest word I've heard since food cart.
Yeah, no, it's a dumb word, and
it is literally the only thing I hear people talk about now.
Who knew there would be ramifications of trying to change things so that there was some de facto hard cap that would all of a sudden make building teams much more difficult. And the thing that I've been monitoring is not the first tier guys like Dame, Giannis, SGA, those guys that when they're at their powers, are all timers, like first ballot Hall of Famers.
Without doubt.
It's not even the next tier down of your really good all-stars. It's the guys that we saw traded yesterday. Michael Porter Jr.
The fringe dudes. Not quite all-stars, but got skills.
Yeah, but Zach LaVine. Domantas Sabonis is probably the top of that group. He's an all-star, but the way you build around him is finite, right?
D'Angelo Russell, dudes like that.
Well, he's even further down, but if you say him at his best, sure. But it's guys that got these really big deals that under the new CBA, they sure as hell would not. You're just would Sabonis still get a lot of money? Yeah. Would they give him the max? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Zach LaVine? Absolutely not. Michael Porter Jr. getting that money? Absolutely not.
Poor Zach LaVine, he's the guy that nobody wants, but is always on the market. He's great. He's good.
He's a good.
I shouldn't say great. He's good.
He's very good.
Very good.
He's people who crap on him, I'm like,
no.
He's a good player.
Yeah, and he kind of had a little bit of a rap, not to tangent too much, but he kind of had a little bit of a rap of an Aaron Gordon. It's cool, you can dunk. Can you play basketball? And then it turned out as he aged, he can play basketball.
And there's some injury stuff with him, but as a basketball player, if you were paying him $35 million a year, you're great, awesome.
Yeah.
I could talk myself into that. Even if you could go oh man, it's a slight overpay a couple years ago. In the current market, that's good. If you get a 20-point a game scorer, that's a 3-level scorer you could run your offense through efficiently at $35 million, you're doing great. Why this is so crazy for the Bucks is if this doesn't work, because if Giannis looks at this, because Giannis had to have known because he was helping recruit Miles Turner to come to the Bucks.
Thinking Turner signs, we'll get a healthy Lillard. Nobody works out harder than
Well,
Damian.
no,
one's a dog like
he
Damian.
knew
Blah
that
blah
doing
blah.
this would require this. Like I've been told that Dame was told about this possibility yesterday. So, but from Dame's side of it,
Have a good night's sleep.
he's thrilled.
Well, yeah,
Because
I mean,
he gets his
his
bag.
money, and now you're free to do whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
And talking to him a little bit, not today. I mean, I did talk to him this morning, but a little bit before, like he was very likely, no matter what he did, like if the Bucks ended up trading him, he was very likely going to rehab here. Now he would go be a part of the team and the facility and all that kind of stuff, but then probably come back and continue rehabbing. Like, because it's a very long, arduous process. Like when you're talking about these injuries, whether it's him rupturing his Achilles or Taylor Hendricks for the Utah Jazz, who had a disgusting compound fracture beginning of last season.
I mean, don't sleep on Kyrie's torn ACL either.
Like if you're talking about injuries that are 8 to 16-month recovery timelines.
Full season injuries.
Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, like those guys, they aren't around.
You don't need to be around.
No, like Robert Williams, when he tore his knee, like he went
go
back
where you need
home.
to go.
And
Nobody's going to blame you for that.
No, because like you're gonna fly up and do your check-ins and do all those kind of things, but it's a lot of just, especially in the beginning, it's rest.
Yeah.
Now Dame's a lunatic, and he told me 10.
He means that in a nice way.
I love him, but he's somebody needs to protect him from himself, and I mean that in the most loving way. I genuinely love the dude, not just as the guy
I've never met a single person that's interacted with him that's said otherwise.
But like he needs to protect him from himself sometimes. He told me that he got clearance to start working out 10 days post-op.
Really?
10 days.
That's insane.
He's a lunatic.
You can't do that, bro.
Well, I mean, he is. Like, he's just not. So what he's doing is.
See, it sounds like I was telling you before we started, my best friend broke his arm last night. And he was like, oh, my plans for the summer are ruined. Big rafting guy, big mountain bike, exercise fiend. And I know when the doctor clears him, he's going to get at it. And it's like, yo, bro, just slow down a minute.
I mean,
slow down a minute.
I had to with my hip surgery. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah. Especially Achilles, man. Like, how easy it is to tear that again. Plus, it's such a gruesome injury. I cannot imagine what it feels. I had a buddy that happened to him in college, you could see it coiled up in his calf, and just seeing it makes me not want to think about how it feels. Dude, like watching Hallie, they kept showing that clip.
The rebound.
I'm just like, it looks terrible. How is it going to feel?
I'm not going to lie. When Dame tore his Achilles, that was like, number one, I cried.
Well, I think we all felt what you're about to say.
Yeah, but that moment right there is when I gave up basketball.
Yeah.
Like I've been toying with the idea of like I'm gonna really go into golf.
Playing basketball.
Like, I'm done.
Oh yeah.
Like
at our age,
I'm done.
No
way. I'm just like I know guys my age that can continue to play basketball that have all ruptured their Achilles. You guys don't see this when we go to break, but because of my hips, I can't sit for very long periods of time without getting. If you watch on YouTube, you see me shuffling around all the time because it's not okay for me to sit forever, because if I sit for a long period, they will literally tighten up and it's like I stand up like a 90-year-old man. I go over to the wall and stretch my calves, and I stretch my quads and my hamstrings and my back every freaking break, because like after Dame, Tatum, and Hallie, I'm like, those guys are in incredible shape. How the hell is my old busted ass gonna be able to get through that?
I think I felt that way when Clay did it.
Yeah, right. Like I was just like. But I just look at that injury. It's so devastating. The recovery is so long. And Dame's posted a bunch of workout videos down to the Lion's Den and Tiger with Sam, his guy who he works out with. And like he's doing like balance and strengthening exercises around his Achilles. So he's doing like quad and hamstring stuff. And like when I had my hips, I think I mentioned this before, like we were able to diagnose my hip issue because I had 80% bilateral tear in my right Achilles. And it was because my hip was so bad that my quad moved over, pulled my calf like up. It was in this constant state of tightness that I have a little bone spur on the back of my ankle. My Achilles was rubbing against it. The bone was sawing the Achilles.
I don't feel good right
now. No, it was awful. And I went through probably a month of just drastic physical therapy where I was going in 2 and 3 times a week to have my calf scraped out. Let me tell you right now, if you've never had your shins scraped out for 40 minutes with that gua sha tool, it is, especially for me, because at the time I had disgusting shin splints that like I was in tears every time they did this. And finally one time they were just like, have you ever had any of the hip issues? Like, we know your knee issues, but like, and they shot the x-rays and like, shout out Rebound. They're incredible. Shot the x-rays in the room next door, go back in, and my doctor goes, I don't have to tell you, man, your right hip is 80, your left hip is 90. And I was like, word?
I hope everyone's having a nice lunch right now.
Yeah. And so, like, but I was going to pop my Achilles, like, at any given time before this. And that terrified me. And now seeing these injuries and the recovery processes, I'm just like, I can't do that. And for Dame to now have this is crazy because, number one, this is the largest wave and stretch in NBA history.
And probably the beginning, as we said, CBAs dictate generations, and probably the beginning. We saw this in baseball with what the Dodgers are doing, and some people choose not to follow it, like the Mets are going to pay Soto all up front. Doesn't mean everyone will be stretched.
No, it just looks for these opportunities, and I'm wondering if the league, I think they can reopen it in 2 years to make some amendments, if I remember right, to the CBA. I'm wondering if they're going to keep this going the entirety of the CBA.
Would the league be anti this, though? Do you think it'd be a way to continue to go back to stacking teams?
No, I think would try to find maybe to be a little less punitive, particularly on the second apron side. And I wonder if
more helpful for the club.
Just in clubs in general, allow a little more flexibility because it's almost impossible to do transactions when you're in the second apron because you can't aggregate salaries, you can't do these things. But even more than that, I wonder if they discuss the amnesty provision because that was one thing that was not really talked about, but people definitely wondered about the CBA was because of the transition being so different from what it has been. Would they allow an amnesty provision? So you could see a Michael Porter Jr. amnesty. You could see, like, those contracts were just like, yeah, we like the dude, but this contract is so. I mean, the Denver Nuggets gave up a 2032 unprotected first-round pick. Now they got Cam Johnson back, and I like Cam Johnson.
Love getting Cam Johnson.
But he has his own injury concerns. But he makes like $17 million less.
Yeah,
$17 million is a really good player in the NBA. So for Dame, he now gets the best of both worlds. He gets all of his money. Because what's crazy is the money that he's getting is the extension that he signed in Portland.
Yeah,
that's the money that starts today.
Bullet dodged.
I didn't want to say it, but grand scheme and all those things.
We're all thinking the same thing.
Did Joe Cronin make the right decision in doing that? And like, it's very hard for me to parse this out, obviously, because I cover the team, but because I love Dame not only as a player but as a person.
Like the guy, yeah.
They've both told me they probably should have done it a year earlier.
Sure.
But neither side was
ready.
Not only that, like, Joe can't step in his first thing he does
and trade your franchise player.
And because he's been there forever. He knows the value of what Dame is. Yeah. And Dame, his loyalty that he built up, he couldn't be the guy after saying this that I need to, get out.
Let's stick right here because there's still more to do. Damian Lillard is a free agent. What does that look like? We touched on recovery process, but what does the future hold for Damian Lillard? I think we were concerned just with the Achilles tear in itself, but now that he's a free agent, is there a chance that everyone's dream of him coming home and helping these babies get somewhere? We'll do that next, but first we'll send it over to Rusty with sports.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Trailblazers announced they've signed number 16 overall pick Jan Hansen to his rookie scale contract. In moving back from 11 to 16 to draft him in that spot, Portland acquired an additional first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. ESPN Shams Charania reporting the Bucks waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the remaining $113 million of his contract over the next 5 seasons. He was waived, so Milwaukee could sign center Miles Turner to a 4-year, $107 million deal. Shams also reporting the Thunder signing MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 4 years, $285 million Supermax contract through the 2030-31 season. It is the largest annual salary in NBA history. And more Shams, the Raptors and Jakob Poeltl have agreed to a 4-year, $104 million extension. Multiple reports say tight end Darren Waller coming out of retirement and will join the Dolphins. They are sending a 6th-round pick to the Giants, who hold his rights still. The Dolphins will receive Waller and a conditional 7th-round pick. And the Mariners and Royals back at it tonight at T-Mobile Park. Emerson Hancock opposite Michael Lorenzen, 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
I don't know if I'm going to be putting on this headset again.
1233 Portland Sports Leader, don't you forget it. We are live from the shadows of the historic Fremont Bridge. It's the fan text line 503-864-6326. This guy says, it would take me 5 years to fully recover, and I sit at a desk for a living.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I'm not even terrified about the recovery. I'm just terrified about the injury itself.
Yeah, oh no.
I've never been under the knife.
Oh, you lucky son of a bee.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I've had my nose broken multiple times, and that's it. Some sprains, things like that.
I still vividly remember the first time I tore my ACL.
Yeah, no knife. No knives for me. No knives.
My sophomore year on a wake skate, and I absolutely ate it, and my foot stuck, and it spun around. My foot spun around and just
like Willis McGahee style.
Just spun it, yeah. And I remember popping up out like the snap sound. It like echoes like a tree snapping in your skull. It is like when you tear it, you know. There's like, and I will never forget. After my dad circled around with a boat, and I was just laying on my back. And I leaned all the way back and let my knee come up to the top of the water. It was already like turning black and blue and just the size of a grapefruit. And my dad, who now has dual knee replacements, who was like, "We got to get to the hospital." And I was just like,
Continuing with this Damian Lillard situation, the talk of the town. I see it all over my Reddit feed. We're seeing it on the text line, the YouTube. Shout out YouTube listeners. What up, guys? Damian Lillard to Portland. Is that it? Let's start with, is it a reality? No. Let's start with, is it a good idea? And then we can talk about if it's a reality. Would it be a good idea to bring him in while he recovers on a 1-year deal and basically pay him to hang out at the facility and mentor young kids?
I think if, number one, Dame's going to take his time.
Sure.
Number two,
there's no rush for him.
No. Number two, I think he's going to sign a 2-year deal if he does go somewhere. So it'll be like a rehab tour and then
see how we do next year in the 2027 season. See how he can actually play
during the whole summer of Dame.
Mm-hmm.
I've been open about this.
The summer of Dame.
It was 89 days of it.
I remember
from the trade request.
I lived through it. I am a P1 of this station.
I talked to him a lot during that summer. And even when it got messy, Dame lives here.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't move here. This is his home.
Yep.
He built a palatial estate that he had, custom built for him. Portland is his home. No matter what happens.
I love that.
When he comes back, he's going to live here.
Yeah.
He's going to be like a lot of guys have been that have stayed in town. Channing Frye met his wife and got married here. TP lives here. A lot of the alumni still live here. Like Uncle Cliffy lived here.
Spliffy.
Duck lived here. Mm-hmm. Like Jerome lived. Like those. There's a lot of guys that like.
Brian Grant used to live out in Camas.
Yeah. And shout out BG. He was at Young Hanson's.
Oh, fun.
Presser. It was so good to see him, man. He was in good shape and good spirits. It was really cool to see him. But he wouldn't care me saying this. He has told me flat out that he wants to finish his career here.
That'd be great. And that's the question. Is this the time for it to finish the career? I mean, the Achilles at his age, it's not a good sign.
No.
Not trashing the guy by any means.
But he can also...
I'm not going to say you're cooked.
He doesn't have to worry about finances at all in the next 2 years.
At all.
It's taken care of.
You can be cap friendly.
Yep.
You can be whatever you want. And if you want to finish at his age, is a 2-year deal the last contract he ever signs? Potentially 2-year with maybe a team option.
Well, he's always told me he didn't want to be a guy that played into his late 30s, into his 40s. Like he was
looking bad.
Well, not just that.
If you look as good as LeBron, I'll play till 40.
But even then, he's always said, I don't want to be one of those guys that's just hanging on.
Yeah.
Now, things change.
And you might not be hanging on.
Yeah, but not even that. He was just like, when I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, there's not going to be a Karl Malone with the Lakers situation. He was like,
Gary Payton on the Heat?
Yeah, he told me flat out he didn't want to do that.
I don't think anybody really
but also,
wants to do that.
I think guys are hesitant to give it up because it's all they know.
It's all they know, yeah.
And I get that. And again, things change, and don't take like word as bond here because it could change for Dame. I mean, the Achilles injury changed everything for him. I don't know if where the Blazers are at right now, if it would make sense because they did just trade for Drew.
Yeah.
And they have to make a decision on Scoot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a grand roundabout way, like, personally, I would love for him to come back. But, like, I don't think that the fit makes sense for him right now, especially if he does want to go ring chasing. He has an opportunity here.
He's got about 3, maybe 4 years to chase a ring. And I don't know if that timeline is the Blazer timeline. I don't think 3 years is a Blazer timeline. No. I think 4 would be maybe a Western Conference Finals, maybe. But I think timeline here is more like 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is you kind of look where this stuff is at and you go, does it make sense for him right now? I don't think so, for either side. It makes sense. Now, it makes sense for him to be home.
Sure.
Especially in the rehab portion of it all.
He also doesn't need to sign a contract this year. Like you said, he's got the money.
There could also be a team that goes into the season with some cap space and he goes, you know what? This team is like, let's say a team just pops. Like, I'm using Atlanta as an example, but don't take that. But like the East is so wide open
Insanely.
Right now. Like what the Pacers just did this last year, if you get to one of those spots that you all of a sudden you get on that team and like you can be a dude.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, maybe Charlotte finally pops. I mean, I'm just joking. That'll never happen.
Let's say Washington.
Yeah.
Let's say Washington wins the lottery next year and they get AJ DeBonsa. Like he ends up going or Cam Boozer, whatever.
Yeah, they get the second or third and get a Cam Boozer.
Whatever guy, and all of a sudden, let's say Koulibaly pops and Sarr takes a leap, and you're like, yeah, Bob Carrington's nice, but even old Dame at let's say he's 23 a game.
Yeah,
he's 23-6. Like he's still pretty damn good.
Well,
like what I'm saying, like what if one of those, and I'm just using these as examples. These are not teams that I believe are going to do that, but just
sure.
A team like the Pacers that you're like, they're good, but like they were really good. They just like, I mentioned this the other day. I have a new deeply held belief. One of them is if the Blazers hold on and beat the Lakers in Game 7, they win an NBA title.
They beat my Pacers.
They win an NBA title.
For sure. I think we all agree on that.
If Brandon and Greg are healthy, I believe they win a title.
With LA? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe they win a title. My next one that I have added to this list, if Tyrese Halliburton is healthy, the Pacers win that game.
It felt that way. We talked about this all the time. Yep. It really felt that way.
And again, I'm not saying that to take away from the Thunder.
No, not at all.
It is the way Hallie was playing in that moment.
I was texting you. It was like, ugh.
Yeah, it was.
I went to the bar to watch the game, and that happened, and I was like, "Check, please."
Yeah, I need.
Because I was on vacation, and I was like,
I don't want to sit here and do this.
Yeah.
So, but does one of those situations pop up for Dame? He has time to survey the market, and he doesn't have to worry about. He doesn't have to worry about the financial ramifications, anyways, because Dame is fine.
But we've seen some point guards age like that. Now I'm going to mention a couple names, and they play a lot better defense than Dame ever has. So he would have to. I don't necessarily say he has to change his game, but he would have to find the right situation. There are guys that aged and were still very impactful and very good. Chris Paul comes to mind. Darren Williams comes to mind. Mike Conley Jr. right now. Like, how valuable is he to that team?
Yeah.
And he's the 4th best player on that team.
Yeah, he's 38 years old.
But maybe the most valuable.
Yeah.
Obviously Ant's the best, but maybe the most valuable because he's the old guy bringing it together. Drew Holiday, same situation. Like, can you find yourself in a position? Again, those guys play a little better defense than Dame does.
It's the Vince Carter, Rudy Gay, like, yes, you've had an injury, but like you change your game, you mature your game, and you find a way to still thoroughly impact basketball.
Shane Battier played for 20 years.
Look, and you have to adapt and you have to change and all the things that kind of come with that. And that's going to be interesting for Dame because he was a guy that, while fast, quick, twitchy, he didn't necessarily rely on being the fastest or the quick. Like, nobody ever talked about him like John Wall, like getting coast to coast.
Yeah.
The fastest in basketball. Like that, even young Dame, when he dunk competition Dame.
Kyrie's finishing.
But it's about setup and understanding. And if you're talking about how guys get set up, Dame's probably one of the 5 best guys in the NBA. Like, it's move into counter move. It's IQ. It's feel. It's like, if I do this, they're going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. It's a decision tree matrix that he has mastered. He's told me so many times, like, do you know, more guys in the league are more talented than I am? He goes, I just had to think the game better and differently and faster, and that's what I got better at. Because if you go and look at like his pick and roll data from college at Weber State, nobody ran more pick and roll than him. Nobody.
And nobody watched him run more pick and roll than anybody else.
And that was the thing, is like he became a film junkie, and Phil Beckner, who was his assistant and now his skills trainer, was at Weber State with him, and they put him in that position, and he was the most effective pick and roll guard in modern college basketball history. Like, he was that prolific at it, and that's why he ends up getting drafted where he does in the career that he has.
He's a Hall of Famer, top 100 player of all time. Well, we wish Damian a speedy recovery and all the best. And, if you see him walking around town, just give him some love. I would put the brakes on anything that's going to happen soon. I would be shocked if we hear anything in the near future. Obviously, the man's got a lot going on in his brain, but we wish him a speedy recovery. And we come back, the NBA continues to be the gift that keeps on giving these days, as there is now. I got to check the books, but he might be the highest paid athlete salary-wise in North America. We'll do that next. Danny and Friends, 1080 The Fan. Coming up in the second hour, it is a holiday today, so we'll touch on that. Also, worst day on the web at 1:30. Plus, we'll get into some NFL news and notes in the 2 o'clock hour. I know you guys talked about it yesterday, but that Steelers franchise, I got a lot of questions. So we'll get to that in the second hour, talk a little football and break this up. We'll keep eyes on any other stuff going on in the NBA, but we've got a new richest guy in sports. And Danny, I was talking to my wife this morning. I was talking to preschool, and she was telling me, I go, the sports gods have shined on me this morning. And she goes, well, what do you mean? And I go, well, there are all these crazy stories. It's going to be a great show today. I'm going to fill in for Dusty, and Danny and I are going to have a blast. She was like, oh, really? Like what? And I was like, well, Damian Lillard got released. She was like, whoa. And then I go, and SGA is now the highest paid player in the NBA and maybe in all of North America. I'm about to check that stat right now. And she goes, who? And I was like, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. MVP, finals MVP. Remember we were watching, I kept saying, look at that guy, number 2, SGA, he's awesome. She goes, no idea. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was fascinating to think about, that maybe he is that far away from the regular household name, but he's paid like it.
Oh no, he is, and he's now going to make over $71 million a year in average annual value. Now it'll be a little below that to start, and it'll go a little above that to finish. It's 4 years, $285 million, $70 million a year, and I've mentioned this so many times. By the time Victor Wembanyama comes up for his full
Supermax,
full unabashed, not the fun max, not the first Supermax. 9 years going to, so his first 5, and then after his second
superstar
4.
max, basically.
The one that just punches you in the face as a front office. You want to give it because they're so good.
Yeah. The James Harden deal.
That deal will very likely be $100 million a year.
Yeah. That's insane.
So it'll be 400 plus.
And
it'll probably be like 405.
And you've got the better head on this than I do. And so for us, regular old NBA jocks over here, $100 million, when we talk about, there's all this talk with TNT losing rights and it going to NBC and the ESPN and how much we hate ESPN coverage, but we're hopeful with Inside the NBA, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. Is the NBA making enough money at turnstiles, merchandise, viewership to sustain $100 million players? Because once that gate opens, then there's going to be 2 of them. Then there's going to be 4 of them. Then there's going to be 13 of them. And will this league continue to get to a place that can sustain it? I don't know that answer.
Well, as of right now, yes, because it's baked in with the new rights deal. So the way the salary cap works in the NBA and the CBA is structured is this is part of the negotiation process is no matter what the dollar figure is, it's a percentage of the BRI, which is basketball-related income.
Basketball-related income.
Now,
indulge me on that.
What that doesn't entail is teams being sold.
Okay.
Or the expansion. Like, so Seattle and Vegas getting expansion teams.
Right. Blazers selling. We just saw Lakers.
None of that goes into BRI. So, like, the oft-rumored number right now is it's $6 billion for the rights to have an expansion team. That doesn't account for the roster, if you have to build an arena.
That's just the rights to have a team.
Yes. So that's $12 billion.
That's going to influx into the NBA.
But it goes only to the current 30 NBA owners, and it's broken up between them, those 30. So those 30 will split $12 billion. Okay. That money, though, the TV rights doesn't change. So there's an offset in there in that through expansion, those 30 owners are now going to be giving up another piece of the pie to 2 more teams. So let's just, for a round number's sake, let's say it's $100 million.
Okay.
So 30 teams get it. It's 3.3,
right?
Or 330 that comes out of that,
right?
Or 3.3, for each team. Well, now it's 100 divided by 32. So it has to be that high for the rights fees to offset that over the course of this.
Okay.
And that doesn't impact BRI.
Boy, I'm glad I'm not an accountant.
Oh, dude, it gets, especially with this new CBA.
I can't even use Excel.
The previous CBA, there were some changes to it, but it wasn't as drastic. It was just the numbers were bigger. But this one has so many more machinations to it, and we're still finding things in it that are, and it's probably going to be another 2 years before we have everything kind of nailed down. But the salaries are going to go up as long as the money keeps coming in accordingly. And it's going to be anywhere from 7 to 10% each year.
You don't think that this could, I mean, this is obviously going to trickle down to ticket prices, jersey prices, etc. It will eventually get to cable, streaming, however you consume your media. Is this a slippery slope that could price out people?
I mean, you're already seeing that.
The NFL grows and grows, and it is very expensive to go to an NFL game, but people still do it. But that's the number one sport. Can basketball continue on that trajectory without alienating?
There's got to be a bubble somewhere.
Because I got 3 kids. So 5 of us to go to an NBA game, that ain't cheap.
No, it's probably $200 bare minimum.
Maybe to get in the door.
Yeah, I mean, like parking to get in the door. Like, and that's for like
we ride
seats.
the max, baby.
But
we po kids.
but you know what I mean? Like it's not cheap, and that's the thing is like it's going to be interesting to see how that part of it goes. But I mean, the rights deal is baked into it, so like they know the amount that they have over the course of years. Now, what does it look like 7 years from now when that deal's up? That's where it gets interesting. Is like is there another gear that this goes to, or is this where this stops? Because like the NFL, when you saw Patrick Mahomes get paid, or you see these big quarterbacks get these crazy amount of money,
the Joe Burrow money.
You got to put that money in escrow.
Yeah,
you have to be and that's part of the reason why the Lakers sold the team. They sold the team to Mark Walter, who's worth $12 billion.
Well, it always sounded too like Jeannie was cash.
She was
cash poor.
She was. That was the thing.
You own the Lakers and be cash poor.
Well, I mean, that's all they owned.
Yeah.
Like they literally made their money off the Lakers. Dr. Buss bought the Lakers, the Kings, the land, and like 13,000 acres for $69 million, $68 million in 78, I think is what it was.
So much money back then.
Oh God. I mean, he leveraged everything. Like, if it didn't work out for him, he was done. But they've grown their wealth.
I think it worked out for him.
Yeah, but I mean, that investment of $69 million turned into, I think Jeannie's worth like $700 million, and now she's worth like $5 billion because
she
of the
ain't
buyout.
cash poor now.
No, but you look at Clay Bennett in Oklahoma City, who just gave this contract. Net worth has him between $600 and $800 million.
That's not much.
Like
he might be the poorest owner.
I think he is. With Jeannie out, I'm almost certain that he's now the poorest owner in the NBA.
But let's move this to SGA real quick. I can't think of another player in the league that I'm more okay with this. I checked the stats. Juan Soto only makes like $41 million a year, which means like Mookie Betts makes more than him. But this is the highest paid player contract-wise in North American sports. There are dudes that make more money based on endorsements, et cetera, and SGA's nowhere near those endorsements yet. But I can't think of a single player in the NFL or in the NBA that I'd rather give this money to than SGA. There's something about him. He's a nice guy. He's got a good smile, speaks well. Obviously, when the big lights are on, he can shine. I can't think of anybody else worth more long-term. Like, would you rather give this contract to SGA or to Luka Doncic?
I mean, the Lakers are going to make that decision, and they're going to give it to him.
And they're going to give it to him, but would you rather? Like, you can pull whoever you want. It's a fantasy draft. You can pull whoever. I might choose SGA. And I know Luka's getting skinny, and I love Luka to death, and there's some other guys out there, the Tatums of the world. I know the Achilles makes you a little ginchy, but but there's guys like that. Cooper Flag, I feel, is going to be the next guy that I have no problem giving a supermax to. Give him 2 supermaxes for all
Luka's
I care.
a guy, as weird as it is going to sound, and you should probably counter this, and I'm saying the collective you. I think I would take Luka over SGA. Even with the athleticism, defensive issues because of his game. But SGA's game is also not one that's super reliant on being, don't get me wrong, he's incredibly athletic, but it's a different kind of athleticism. His game, I think both him and Luka and Jokic are guys that their games are going to age. Like when they're 33, 34 years old, they're probably still going to be really good.
Yes, they're situational. They're not just like, I got to get mine.
And that's like the playmaking nature of all three guys, but also their game is more ground bound. And guys that are ground bound and can be incredibly successful, when their athleticism starts to fade, it doesn't just like sap everything that they are.
Sure.
Like LeBron's maturation from, 300-pound LeBron in Miami to now, like, don't get me wrong, he can still get up occasionally.
LeBron Miami's the greatest basketball player of all time.
I'm not gonna argue with you. Like, you put him on the block and it was like, good luck.
Yeah,
you put a center on him, he goes around him. You put a power forward on him, he just bullied them into another dimension. But like LeBron's growth has been more about being more ground bound and being more about using physicality on the ground.
There aren't crazy dunks. There aren't crazy.
He has one
anymore.
every now and then.
Sure. Like, it makes the highlights on Sports Center.
It's like once every 10 games, he pulls one of those out, and you go, "Yep, he's still got it in the bag."
There he is.
And you see him reaching for the hand. You're like, "Ooh, that doesn't feel like it used to." But like the maturation of games, when you talk about guys being able to play off of 2 feet and be ground bound and be great, those are guys I trust significantly more long term. Even when there are questions with Luka's conditioning or something of that nature.
All right, coming up in the next hour, I'd like to stick just a little bit longer in the NBA as things are really crazy. And I kind of just want to ask the question, what is going on? Then we'll give the NBA a little bit of a breather and walk into some other stuff. Plus, everybody's favorite worst day on the web at 1:30. Loaded second hour. Don't go anywhere. I'm Patrick Harris. That's Danny Meringue. Jeff Rust on the ones and twos. 1080 The Fan. For great
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, the Trailblazers announced they've signed number 16 overall pick Jan Hansen to his rookie scale contract. In moving back from number 11 to 16 to draft Hansen, Portland also acquired an additional first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. ESPN's Shams Charania reporting the Bucks waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the remaining $113 million of his contract over the next 5 seasons. Lillard was waived so Milwaukee could sign center Miles Turner to a 4-year, $107 million deal. Shams also reporting the Thunder signing MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to a 4-year, $285 million Supermax contract through the 2030-31 season. It is the largest annual salary in NBA history. And more Shams, the Raptors, and Jakob Poeltl agreeing to a 4-year, $104 million extension. The Mariners and Royals, back at it tonight at T-Mobile Park. Emerson Hancock opposite Michael Lorenzen, 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. The Mariners are 6 games back of the Astros in the AL West. And from the NFL, multiple reports say tight end Darren Waller coming out of retirement and will join the Dolphins. They're sending a 6th-round pick to the Giants, who still held his rights. The Dolphins will receive Waller and a conditional 7th-round pick. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
What in God's name is going on in here? What was that ruckus?
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
What ruckus? I was just in my office and I heard a ruckus.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app.
Describe the ruckus, sir.
And 1080.
Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
The Fan.
Welcome into the second hour of Danny and Friends. Patrick Harris here with you. Danny's still in the house because he actually owns this place. Dusty is off in some meeting.
Yeah, not paying rent, thank God.
Dusty's off in some meeting. That's what he said.
I bet our
like
rent
a big
here is
boss.
not cheap.
Rent here?
Yeah.
In this building?
It's look, it's a significantly nicer building than the old building.
Significantly. Although there are times, Rusty, I don't know if you feel this way, there are times I miss the old girl.
The character?
Sometimes I miss the old poop-filled Willamette,
Yeah.
you know?
I will say.
There was something cool. I've said this before many times. There's something really cool about walking into the building, and on your left and on your right were just stations.
Yeah.
With booths, producing booths.
It was the old
on-air
It was
booths,
the OG
old school radio style.
Yeah, no,
and we were at
100%.
the end of the hall,
Yep.
and there was something kind of fun about that.
We had the window, like the only windows
Yeah.
we have in here, for like you can kind of see them on YouTube. There's the one for the exit out of the studio behind us that goes into the space, and you can kind of see the street. But our other window is the lovely Jeff Rust.
It's a big window, though.
When I was only over there for like 4 or 5 months, 6 months, something like that. I remember the first show I did in there, like officially on air. I was like, man, just because we had the windows on both sides, like, but we had the river right there.
Right there.
So it was just like, this is kind of dope. Like you're just
The joggers, the bicyclists, the talent, it was all there.
The people watching was incredible.
Incredible.
And then we moved into this building and we had the old heroin user that crapped on the porch.
Well, yeah, and the closets. Remember producing in the closets?
Oh God, yeah, no, that was miserable. Which is funny. Again, we've talked about this. Dusty's office is where we were doing the show.
It's
out
the
of
old
Star.
studio.
And I'm like, God, we really fit both of us in here, didn't we? This is awkward.
Well, if you missed any of the first hour, you heavy NBA as we talk Damian Lillard, SGA, and we're going to continue on this. If you missed any of the first hour, you can download that wherever you get your podcasts at 10thefan.com, the Odyssey app, and places that rhyme with, let's go with the NBA is crazyify.
Yeah, it is absolutely bonkers right now, and there are discussions that I've heard that I'm like, there's no way.
I don't want to sound like hyperbolic or anything because I feel like we'll always say this. I don't remember an offseason that's this wild.
Well, that's the thing.
It's like we talked about. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off
No.
again. We've talked about how the era is changing.
Yes.
In how you build teams is changing, and you can't always just react. You have to anticipate. And you've said that this has kind of been in the works for a couple years, and those more casual fans like myself are just now seeing it with teams like, I mean, maybe Denver should have been the first like eye opener. This is what's happening.
And then now look where they are
And
at the transactions they just made last night alone.
This has to be one of the crazier years because of the shift in how to build a team. It's no longer big three, which is why like the Clippers make no sense to me anymore. But it's now this full roster, top to bottom. It can't. Do you remember an offseason crazier than this? And we're not even 24 hours in.
No. There's been certainly bigger moments of like, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George going to the Clippers, like bigger names,
Sure.
At the peaks of their powers type stuff. But a
Damian Lillard being traded to Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some enormous moves over the last 3-4 years. But I think when you're talking about movement in general, you're seeing guys like Ty Jerome, who was a finalist for Sixth Man of the Year with the Cavs, was really good for them.
Really good.
Got a $9 million a year deal with Memphis Grizzlies. Like the middle class is getting punched in the face in the NBA because teams are terrified and they're like, we can't do we're going to give this guy $20, $25, $30 million because that one deal can cripple you. And that's what the Bucks waiving and stretching Dame is insane to me because they're washing that entire salary slot down the drain for 5 years. 20, what is it? Like it was $22.5 million. I think it's over 5 years.
Yeah, but they might be in a desperation mode because they got to do something to keep Giannis.
Okay.
And so far it's working.
Sure. But if he leaves, now you've got that dead weight on your roster.
No picks.
No picks. I'm telling you right now.
Depending on what you get.
Well, no, I mean, you don't have your own picks because the Pelicans and the Blazers control their future. If you're the Blazers right now, you are just rubbing your hands together because they have $22.5 million. That is a very good player in the NBA. Yeah. We just saw Jabari Smith Jr. sign his rookie extension for $24 million. And if you could put Jabari Smith Jr. on that team right now, that's a big value add for that team and them not even being able to touch that. Having $22.5 million of dead cap is crazy in this environment. And you see teams like the Denver Nuggets who attach a 2032 unprotected pick to move Michael Porter Jr. Jokic will be like 37, 38 years old then.
You have to think that pick looks real nice by then.
I
mean, it's the same look as those picks that the Blazers got from the Bucks that you're thinking, in 2031, that team's probably not going to be very good.
Well, that'll be the first year that they won't have Damian Lillard on their books again.
Oh, God.
Put that in perspective.
Yeah, this always harkens back to me. I will never forget when Mike Dunleavy Jr. signed a 4-year deal in Indiana, and I think it paid him like $16 million a year. And that was the first domino of contracts skyrocketing for mid-level guys. Yeah. Dunleavy was a fine player, great college player, was a fine NBA player. Good.
You can go back even more recently, 2016, when the cap spike happened. They didn't do the smoothing, and the Blazers hand out contracts to Evan Turner,
I was just about to say, the Allen Crabbe, Evan Turner contracts, those don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I mean, look,
you got to be a bona fide superstar to get those kind of deals now.
And if you're talking about percentage of the cap, and that's the thing is like the team building structures are so crazy. The biggest surprise, like everybody, and I mean everybody, thought Brook Lopez was going to be a Laker. Then the Lakers do something crazy and go get Jake LaRavia in the first couple hours of free agency, and then that cuts into how much money they can offer. I don't know for certain if the money was the deciding factor, but Brook Lopez did go to L.A., but to the Clippers to be a backup behind Ivica Zubac. That was the surprise. Well, I should say the surprise of the day as far as the free agency signings. But Dorian Finney-Smith, 48 hours before free agency, going, I think
I'm out of here.
Like, I'm a country boy. Like, he's from Virginia, and he's super tight with Luka Doncic, one of his really good friends in the NBA. But he's like, I like Texas. I make more money in Texas. That tax-free is
quite nice.
And California being the most prohibitive outside of Toronto in the NBA, certainly a factor. But he just wanted to kind of go vibe there.
And you're vibing on a team
that looks really good.
That's another reason why this offseason has been so crazy. Kevin Durant to Houston is like the 8th most shocking thing, and that could be a decider of who makes the NBA Finals.
And here's the thing. Most people didn't think that the Houston deal was going to happen because they thought some team would be willing to give up something.
And we're just seeing. So maybe back to the point we were talking about with SGA, is this sustainable? The answer you're alluding to is probably yes,
To an
because now there's
extent.
only going to be a very few certain guys that are going to be worth that money, and not every team's going to have one. To where it felt like maybe 5 years ago, every team had one out of necessity,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
Or they had
I had to pay
or
somebody.
they had two, and that's where you saw teams like the Nuggets and the Warriors and the Clippers and the Celtics all kind of be in this position now where it's like, oh crap! Like Harden opted out of his deal, signed a 2-year, $81 million deal. So
Absolutely disgusting.
but that's less
I
than
can't believe that man is still worth $40 million
but
a
it's,
year.
I mean, he was really good last year. And
Yeah,
that's
he
the thing.
was.
But like that's the thing.
I'm
is,
probably
like,
just a Harden hater.
no, trust me, I get it. He laid another golden egg in the playoffs, so that's not surprising. But they're in what they think is a contention window, so they'll do this. But their asset pool is gone. What you're going to see, I think the more interesting part of this is the teams that did give up all of their assets, the Denvers, the Clippers, the guy that just shot all of their shots with their picks and protections.
I mean,
and
the Paul George of the world, the Paul George trades of the world.
the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
Like where they are at
For Bradley Beal and KD.
where they are at in 5 years. But as a GM,
Trading Kevin Booker or Devin Booker.
Well, they're talking about him signing an extension right now. So,
but that's one of those guys
Yeah.
that you are willing to do that
Sure.
with.
but it's like, at what cost? And if you're a player, you have to if you're a top player, let's say you're a top 30 player in the NBA.
I would say Devin Booker is a top 30
Yes,
player in the
I'm
NBA.
just saying in general, if you're
Sure.
a top 30 player, your agent and you have to be on very clear terms, because the whole, like the last CBA era, the super teams and the big threes and all that kind of stuff, the rule of thumb, if you're one of those guys, and Dame was one of these guys, you sign the extension and then you try to leverage. So you get both. But when we got into this new CBA era, you saw it, that all of a sudden a lot of the control, unless you were LeBron, and even then LeBron had, like, with the statement that he released, the Rich Paul released, like, what are you going to do? You have a no trade clause and you opted into a $52.6 million deal. And the scuttlebutt is that he's somehow going to try to wrangle his way to Cleveland. I'll believe it when I see it, because Cleveland's a second apron team.
Not
and they
going to
can't,
lie, I'd love it.
I mean, look, if he
I'd
does
love
go
it.
somewhere, go back there.
Go to Cleveland.
But like, okay, how are you going to do it? Because the second apron is
It's
so
true.
prohibitive, and like aggregation of salaries and all these kind of things. Like, you have to choose. Like
It's for Donovan Mitchell, so they get Donovan Mitchell and Luka on the same team.
Yeah, we'll see. But like, looking at that, you have to figure out what it's going to be for
Yeah.
you. Like, do you want the money and you're going to be stuck there through some tough times, or not? Like Giannis. Giannis has the power to be like, I want out.
Yep. And he'll get it.
And he'll get out, and he'll get to a, well, maybe not a good team. Like, because even like Portland sent Dame to Milwaukee, which they thought was going to be a good team, but the price was so much that Milwaukee
They turned out to be worse.
Yeah, but I mean, Milwaukee did the same thing a few years previous with Drew Holiday, and it did work out, but that was the run-up to the new
Yeah.
CBA.
Yeah.
So giving up those assets then versus giving up those assets now is so much more prohibitive. Like the Nuggets making this deal for Cam Johnson, they did that. They bring back Bruce Brown. They trade for Jonas Valanciunas. Like, are they, like, Cam Johnson and MPJ are probably relatively the same as players. I'd say MPJ might be a little bit better, but is he $17 million a year better? No, but all this did was get them below the second apron and get them out of this level to where it isn't as punitive. And are they a better team? Are they slightly deeper? Probably.
Probably. Yeah, I would say. I think they're a better team.
But you gave up your most prized asset
Yeah.
to basically be slightly better and have more financial wiggle room. Like,
Because financial wiggle room is the name of the game. That's the name of the game.
and that's why OKC finds themselves in the position that they do, is because they have so much draft capital and so many young players. In 2 years,
They're gonna be able to survive this.
When Chet comes up
J-Dub.
and J-Dub is up, then
That-
we'll
we'll
see
see.
what that actually looks like.
But that draft capital might turn into you let one of them walk.
you trade them,
You trade one for capital,
and then you
the
get
new guy is in and ready to go.
and that having that treasure trove of picks. And Houston is, I think, in a lot of the same boat.
And that is exactly why we think the beginning of the Thunder dynasty may be here.
It's why it opens the door.
All right, let's put a breather on the NBA for a minute. We'll revisit and also keep you updated if anything comes across the wire on new moves, as we're not even 24 hours into the free agency of the NBA, and boy, it's been a while. But let's switch over to, it's a holiday today, my friends. It's a holiday. Portland sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Danny and friends here. Patrick Harris with you. I want to give the NBA a little bit of a breather, and well, I'm a baseball guy, so you know we're going to get into it. There's only one game on right now. Yanks up on the Blue Jays 2-0. They got the roof open in Toronto right now, which I feel like I never see.
I feel like it's basically hot across the entire country right now.
I mean, it's hot AF here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for here.
Yeah.
It's probably hotter in other places. I heard the Baltimore game yesterday or Sunday. I saw on Reddit, somebody posted a picture 20 minutes before the game, and there is nobody in the seats because it's like 98 degrees.
There was a
Then the attendance seemed fine, but it was like everyone's in the concourse right before the game starts.
In the shade,
and it's like, all right, guys, we ready? We can do this. We can do this.
Get a beer up before you get out there. No, there was the World Cup teams, not the nations.
The Club World Cup.
The Club World Cup.
Yeah.
Was it Borussia Dortmund that was just here in the U.S. for a match? It was one of the German clubs. I can't remember who it was. No, it wasn't Borussia. It was somebody else. Might have been
Munich was here. Bayern Munich was here.
It was Bayern.
Okay.
That's who it was. Their subs watched the game from the locker room.
Yeah.
It was 86 degrees. Because that part of the world, like you hear about these heat waves in England, it's 87, and you're like, they're like dying because they just never get above 80.
Well, the Chelsea manager, they were playing their game in Charlotte the other day, and it's 88 degrees, and it had to be paused 3 times for lightning.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is going on here?
It kind of makes you wonder what happened last night when you had the massive upset of Man City, and it's like, the heat get to them.
It's kind of just like, it's almost like, well, nobody really believes this tournament's worth a damn, so it's kind of like, you guys just want to pack this in and go home.
It's very hot and swampy here in Miami. I want to get out of here.
I feel very lucky that my team is not in that tournament.
We have an anniversary that is one of the best sports anniversaries of all time.
I mean, I think it's got to be. I mean, when you think about stuff that I mean, everyone remembers the LeBron decision. Michael Jordan retiring the first time. It's got to be Bobby Bonilla Day.
It is.
A man who was owed $6 million is going to cap off $35 million, and he's still going to get paid for another, 5-6 years?
10 years, 2035.
10 more years? $1.19 million. They owed him $6 million.
Check it, same day every year.
Is this the only, because they, we'll walk you through. So they owed him $6 million. They kicked the can down the road. Do we have that Steve Phillips audio? Do you have that? Yeah, we'll play that in a second. They kicked the can down the road, and they put it into a fund. We'll just go ahead and let Steve Phillips, he was the GM of the Mets during this. This is what he had to say about the whole situation.
We were releasing Bobby Bonilla, and the owner, Fred Wilpon, said to me, check with the accounting department if we were to invest the money with Bernie. Now, Bernie was Bernie Madoff. He was friends of the owners of the Mets, of Fred Wilpon. The Mets had invested a lot of money with him over the years. They were one of the groups of many that got duped by Bernie Madoff. But the plan was that we would invest Bonilla's $6.5 million, defer it for 10 years, then pay it out over 25 years. And all that time, that money would be in a Madoff fund making money. And the thought was that we were going to make millions on his $6.5 million over the 35-year span, all still while paying him out what's going to total about $29 million. So his $6.5 million over 35 years turns into $29 million. It seemed like a good idea when we did it. And I will say that I wanted to be a trendsetter, and you're welcome, Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, $68 million deferred with Ohtani. I mean, you took it from me. I think so. I think I'm an influencer now. I feel really proud of this.
First and foremost, Steve Phillips, I'm really glad you're back on MLB Network, and I've enjoyed. This is some cringe-worthy stuff here. You're the reason the Dodgers decided to do this.
I think
this is a terrible investment if you think about it.
I think this is a little tongue-in-cheek there. I think that's some
I hope so.
Yeah, because if you see the look on his face when he says this, he says it with a wry smile.
I do love, though, that this is one of the few Bernie Madoff investments that actually came to fruition, that actually kind of worked.
Yeah, for Bobby Bonilla. So if you
it actually made money.
If you aren't understanding what he's saying, is like they put this in an escrow fund to hopefully grow a $6.5 million investment to $35-40 million in total over the run of this, so that they would actually make money on the deal. But the problem was Bernie Madoff was running a pyramid scheme and stealing the money, and so it actually didn't go into that, and instead ended up costing them $26.5 million when it's all said and done.
Steve Cohen's like, I hate this.
Yeah,
Can we just buy him out?
I bet you Bobby said,
Hell no.
Because like the way that I've described this is that one dude who won the small lottery.
He did.
That instead of taking the lump sum, look, getting $6.5 million in a lump sum, like over, let's say this gave him like 3.25 over 2 years. You can do more with it in immediacy.
Sure.
But if you take a payout that turns 6.5 into 26.5, and it's
Easily.
a slower trickle.
Easy.
And
I don't live in New York City. 1.19 stretches long because I go back to Vancouver, Washington, where I grew up, and that money goes far.
And you count on that every single year.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're talking about, a 400% rate of return over the course
And
of
if you
25 years.
If you invest that properly, then your $29 million turns into potentially $40 million
or more.
Or more.
Like
I bought Facebook in 2007.
Like just getting like what year did this happen? Was it
99?
99. So think about where the market has gone. Like if you would
In 1999, the highest paid player in Major League Baseball, I believe, was Manny Ramirez.
There you go.
I believe he signed an 8-year, $180 million deal.
Which is crazy.
And then in 2001, Alex signs the 10-250.
Yeah.
So I believe that's where money was in baseball at the time.
So, but think about that. Like if you had taken that money, or just $1 million, you take you once you've got a little pool. Let's say he starts really investing in 2006, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
When the market kind of does the bubble thing.
Sure.
But you rebound. Let's say you bought some Amazon stock, or you bought some Nvidia, or you bought into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
In 2011, like. The sheer worth that you could have right now, and again, I don't know if he did this, but I'm just saying, like the paths that you can take over that period of time, and because you have it, and like I'm not saying he would, but a lot of guys just they spend because they're used to a certain lifestyle and all those things.
Totally, you were talking about the Malik Beasley update. Potentially, he's in a lot of financial issues.
Buddy.
That's why we see, the Antoine Walkers of the world and NFL players that lose money.
Allen Iverson.
But it's like AI, you made so much money, but you continue to spend that way. Charles Barkley better be glad he's on TV making the money he does, because that guy spends way too much money,
but I mean, like
recklessly.
The other guy on his show, Shaq, is one of the savviest investors in sports history. He didn't take payouts from companies. He took ownership.
Yeah.
He took literal stock.
Yep.
He's like, I don't want endorsement money. I want a piece of the company. So now he owns a piece of the General and Papa John's.
Papa John's, yeah.
And like you just go down if you want to go down a rabbit hole of stuff people own, go look at Shaq's investments. It is insane the diversity of investments that he has.
Well, I think so. The reason it's always the Bobby Bonilla day, because as Deal points out on the fan text line 503-864-6326, she'll let you interact with us throughout the entire show. Deal points out that Griffey's still getting paid by Cincy, and that is true. There's a bunch of dudes. Max Scherzer is going to make like $21 million.
Didn't the Mets
for
pay
6 years
Scherzer
after
to go away?
Yeah. Max Scherzer, his deal, when he signed that big deal in Washington before they dealt him, it was all backloaded. Not to the level of some guys we're seeing today, but to the level of that. But we won't have a Max Scherzer day, and I think it's because of the Bernie Madoff situation, the Mets, Bonilla to go away to chase a free agent in Mike Mussina that they ended up not getting. He went to the Yankees. So that's why we will. I think the next player we'll see, though, is Shohei Ohtani Day.
Yeah, because
when Ohtani is retired.
Is it 70?
70. It'll be $70 million a year the Dodgers will pay him to effectively not play baseball, because he'll be 38, 39. I mean, maybe he signs a 2-year deal if he's still good at that time, but most people assume after this 10-year deal, Shohei will go back to Japan and sail off into the sunset and live a Scrooge McDuck life.
Nukes in Japan.
So yeah, I think Bobby gets this holiday that we talk about because of the situation. Bernie Madoff and the collapse of the Mets financially, and how they're only recently with Steve Cohen coming in, they had to bring in a hedge fund guy to get them out of the situation.
More money than God.
That Bernie Madoff put them in. So that's probably why Bonilla is famous. Yeah, I think the
length.
And the length.
This is the deal. It's
$6 million that turned into $29 million.
This is going to go over, what is it, 34 years?
Shohei's going to make $770 million over 10 years when he retires.
Well,
Shohei Day.
What if he opts to go, you know what? Yeah, you owe me the money, but we're going to Bonilla this. And instead of getting paid $1 million a year, he gets paid $10 million a year basically for the rest of his life.
For the rest of his life. That 770 turns into $2.5 billion. Shohei already makes like $100 million. Dude, the guy's going to have so much money, he's going to buy the Dodgers.
But you know what I mean? Like, that's
Yeah.
how you end up becoming like Scrooge McDuckian levels
Yeah.
of net worth.
Is Bobby Bonilla in the Ring of Honor at the Mets? He should be. Or is that a slap in the face to ownership? Would they be too, like, fuddy-duddy and old man cringy to not put him in?
I mean, if I were the Mets on social media today,
I'd just run with it. Like
Happy
the Grimace
Bobby
thing.
Bonilla Day, yeah.
Remember they did the Grimace thing?
Yeah.
Like, just run with it. Be stupid. You're the Mets. You're never going to be in
was
the
a decision-
spotlight like the Yankees, so
Yeah.
be silly.
not only that, it's a decision made by a different ownership group.
Yeah.
Like,
That wasn't us. That was
Yeah.
those idiots.
can you believe this? I'm still paying this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where I think you lean into this episode.
I would do that as well. All right, when we come back, let's put everything aside and let's have a little fun. It's everybody's favorite, the worst day on the web. But first, there's my man Jeff Rust with sports.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Trailblazers announced they've signed number 16 overall pick Jan Hansen to his rookie scale contract, and moving back from their original position at number 11 to 16, Portland acquired an additional first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. ESPN Shams Charania reporting the Bucks waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the remaining $113 million of his contract over the next 5 seasons. Lillard was waived so Milwaukee could sign center Miles Turner to a 4-year, $107 million deal. Shams also reporting the Thunder signing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to a 4-year, $285 million Supermax contract through the 2030-31 season. It is the largest annual salary in NBA history, and the Raptors and Jakob Poeltl reportedly agreeing to a 4-year, $104 million extension. Multiple reports say tight end Darren Waller coming out of retirement and will join the Dolphins. They're sending a 6th-round pick to the Giants, who held his rights. The Dolphins will receive Waller and a conditional 7th-round pick. And on the diamond, Mariners and Royals back at it tonight at T-Mobile Park. Emerson Hancock opposite Michael Lorenzen, 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. Mash the subscribe button and like us for live streaming video and 1080 The Fan on demand. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Oh, really? That sucks.
Well, this isn't the first time we've gone to this part of the world and the scary world of Southeast Asia and their development of robots.
Robots?
This is coming out of China, and this is their soccer team. And no, not the men's or women's soccer team for the national team, but instead, they're humanoid robots that are generating more excitement than their human counterparts. They have robots playing soccer.
Robots playing sports, huh?
Do you follow Scottie Pippen on social media at all?
I do not.
Okay, so I don't know why I do, but I do. And
is he like all in on robot sports?
No, he had one where he tweeted out, I want to say a week ago. Remember Star Wars, the circular checkerboard game? They had like the 3D
Yeah. What's it
fighters.
called? I actually used to know what it's called. Anyway, continue.
But you know what I mean? Like
totally.
The holographic images,
The
that
famous
fight.
C-3PO Chewbacca fight.
Yeah. Where Chewie was cheating, all those kind of things. Well, there was one of those, but it was a full on like higher up coffee table with hologram generated like 3D of a basketball game.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, "This is the future of sports." And I was like, "You know what? I'm kind of on board with that. That's kind of dope."
Of robotics?
No, like the future of like sports.
Oh, how
viewing.
we watch it.
Like a
so
full,
like you come over to my house
instead of watching on TV, you have a
watch
coffee
it
table that's like
3D,
it's a holographic, like in front of you kind of deal. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. Like I'm picking up what you're putting down there. That'd be kind of dope. Like it does, like replicates it in real time. I'm like, that's kind of cool. It kind of gives you like a better understanding of just like the geometry, the spacing, like things you can see that you know on in person that you can't see on TV. I was like, I'm kind of down for that. This scares the crap out of me. You know, we talked about the story where the U.S. military was using robot dogs to suss out illegal tunnels in the Korean DMZ.
We've been kind of seeing this advancement of robots, whether it be drones or the dogs, and it could get real crazy real soon.
I got a buddy of mine who's worked on some stuff for the military.
Stuff.
Yeah,
stuff.
This I got to be careful with. And where drone technology and like the stuff where this is going scares the living crap out of me.
Totally. And that's why I wonder when you get to the sports things with robots, you're programming them, correct? So are you programming them like a Madden situation where, okay, so say it's a small 5-on-5?
It's 2-on-2.
2-on-2.
So this is
so it's like one guy.
It's 3-on-3.
One guy on the team is a 97 in Madden, but the other two dudes are an 88 and 84.
Sure.
The other team, the top dude is a 94, but the other guys are an 88 and a 90, and then you see what happens.
So they're programmed by AI.
Assumed.
But
That's short for artificial intelligence.
What I wonder is like, what is the adaptive nature of it?
That's what I'm curious.
And like that's the thing is like, so when you talk like when you hear the words AI, we throw around AI too much. AI is not like Grammarly and like helping you change your writing style or like that's just programming.
And there's still a ton of flaws in it. But you're right. We throw that, we were laughing earlier about the second apron I was saying is the new food cart term.
Yeah.
No. AI is the global thing that my kids talk about AI.
Yeah, no.
Oh, that's AI.
Like,
and you throw it around like, no, that's
it's not
AI.
No.
An
artificial
algorithm.
Intelligence applies adaptability.
An algorithm is not necessarily artificial intelligence.
No. And like we have not like fully crossed that threshold yet to fully autonomous adaptability.
I did watch Terminator 2 last night.
The Skynet thing scares the crap out of me. Like,
movie holds up still.
Look, the sentience of things like I joke about it, but like when I start going into this stuff and I talk to guys that I know that are still in the service that or work in the Department of Defense adjacent, like the stuff that we talk about, man, like we're all glad that we're not where we were because
where you were in your mid-20s in today's world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's like we look at this now, it's like the battlefield has changed. Like it is terrifying.
Yeah, I feel like when I was growing up, a lot of people that I never felt were the most intelligent You know what? I'm not going to go this place.
No, it's okay.
Do you think one of these robots becomes super messy and just dominates?
Well, that's the thing is like if you watch like Boston Dynamics is the one in the U.S. where
Okay.
you always see the videos of like the next robot like doing the thing. Like first it was like walking. It was that big rigid structure that had a battery pack the size of a Volkswagen.
Right, and it's
on
like,
and now it's like fully running, flipping. Like it's got pneumatic structures all over it. It's like. You're like, oh boy, because like it's not a secret. The U.S. military has been trying to work on like exoskeleton technology for a long.
well, sure. I mean, it's an arms race, and it's you know, it
trickles down and it helps guys like that are amputees or like paralyzed or stuff like that. But the real part of it is like, how can we make a better warfighter?
Yeah, and it's no different in this. These guys are testing this to how do we make a better. I mean, could this technology go into?
Oh, you mean going full Star Wars, the Clone Army? Yeah.
I mean, not just that, but like, you know, I am Tyrese Halliburton and I rip my Achilles to shreds. And I decide that instead of rehabbing that Achilles, I will just have my knee down amputated and put on a robot leg.
Go full cyborg.
And go full cyborg.
I mean,
partial cyborg. You know, like, does that technology get to a point where it's like, this leg can adapt to be more smart and more smarter and attached to your brain somehow and makes that leg jump a little higher
with a Neuralink, excuse me, not Skylink, so the internet, but the Neuralink. Like, if I remember right, there was somebody that was willing to do the human testing, and I'm like, you are not putting a chip in my brain.
No, absolutely not.
But if I'm somebody, let's say I'm paralyzed from the shoulders down, and this what might give me an opportunity to walk again.
Yes. The answer is yes.
You probably consider it. And
I know.
it's like, but like the doors this opens, like if we unlock the key to cognitive processing through this, man, it is. And again, I'm just talking about 3-on-3 soccer in China, dog. Like, but like where we've gone in 10 years.
Yeah.
So I can never remember the actual law for it. Like it's the computing power. It increases X% basically like every 5 or 10 years or something along those lines. That's not the issue with it, with where we are technology and what kind of where it's going. Like, I think it was NVIDIA, like their new chip is like they're doing stuff in like nanometers. There was the worst day on the web that I was going to do a couple weeks ago where a group of scientists created the world's smallest violin on a nano wafer
to play the world's saddest song.
And I'm like, because my dad always used to make a joke when I was a kid.
Some cheese and wine up in there.
When if I had wine about something, he would rub his fingers together.
Yeah,
He goes,
the world's smallest violin.
Playing My Heart Bleeds for You.
Yeah, yeah.
And I told him this story, and
We've all heard that joke.
Well, yeah, no, I told him this story at dinner a couple weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, they actually did make the world's smallest violin on this nano chip, but it's like the biggest issue is the battery. Our battery technology is still finite because you still need an ability to transfer power.
I got a buddy who works in batteries, and they're like trying to move on past lithium. Like that's old school news, but that's all we know right now.
Like science needs the break, in order for us to do it. And like, when that happens, that scares the crap out of me.
Sure.
Because when that happens, and all of a sudden battery and power technology is revolutionized, that's when that's when you start getting like the fusion engines and these kind of things, or nuclear engines or whatever it ends up being. And you're like, oh, good God.
Do you think that this could ever spark like a league and you actually watch it?
I mean, that's what this is.
Well, I know, but like Spark comes over to our world.
Oh, yeah.
And we're actually
100%.
going to the bar. You know, what if it's like this league is designed for bartenders that work late at night, and there are live games at midnight every night because it doesn't matter. It's robots on TV.
Well, I mean, we already have that in a very, very loose way in like what is it on Sci-Fi, the Robot Wars? Where they smash them together.
Yeah, it's like a monster,
match.
It's like monster truck derbies, but with
But
that's true.
But that started like 20 years ago. Like,
maybe 30 years ago.
But that's where this stuff is coming from. Like we're always going to go down this with whatever we have.
Yeah, I will say this though. I don't know if I would ever jump into it. I still think the human element. It's kind of like I think you guys were talking not too long ago, like the steroid Olympics that are coming up. I don't know if that's for me. Now, I'm not saying it shouldn't be for other people, but I think I will always want to see natural humans play a sport.
Look,
dude, where does the betting come in?
Oh God, yeah, because the programming nature of all that kind of stuff.
It'd be so you could
one line of code of like you need to stub your toe here, like to shank, like like
in the fifth round, you go down.
Yeah, it's like
your ass goes down.
Then you got somebody
Marcellus Wallace.
You're trying to send beam the code to it in mid fight, and you've got somebody trying
People
to
are Bluetooth hacking them.
yeah, and you're just like, But the thing I always go back to, because it's what I know, it's what I'm familiar with, but like when you're talking about war fighting, is there, like when I got in, it was the first generation drones. And that's where you're talking about Global Hawk and Predators and stuff like that. And in the early days, we didn't have munitions on them because we always wanted to have the human element.
Yeah.
Like if you talk to any like 4-star general or captain or
we've talked about me and robot umps. Like I love the human element.
Yeah,
I
like,
love it.
You want to have something that's not robotic,
Right?
That can make a decision that's not black and white,
Right?
And that's the part of
the
this.
world ain't black and white.
No, and that's the part of this that gets very dicey when you're talking about this stuff, and that's why I call this the worst day on the web. It's funny, it's interesting, it's crazy, but it also scares the living crap out. Like I'm not joking when I say that. Like particularly on the warfighting front, like just having seen it, been there. Like if you take the human element out of this and you just start throwing endless amounts of because of, and this is going to sound gross, and if you're prior military, you understand what I'm saying. If you're not, you're probably going to be like, what? The human element, the actual cost, is what stops wars from going further,
without a doubt. And it's what keeps things. We were talking
because it's real cost.
Yeah.
But if you're just sending drone army after drone army and robot army after robot army into a city to slaughter, there's no cost.
Yeah, we talked about when we were talking at the very beginning of the show about driving cars. Like if cars all become automated, the car doesn't care if it gets in a wreck.
No.
But me driving the car, the human element, I very much care if I get in a wreck.
So like that part of it, it's a funny, quirky.
Go humans! Go humans!
Like the Chinese people are like really like watching this and getting involved with it, and like they're gung ho about it. I get it, and this isn't me trying to like shake my fist at the cloud, but like, it genuinely, for the future, scares the crap out of me.
One thing that's not so scary, more elegant, more on the fancy side, darling, has just gone underway. And is this one of those that you tune into, or is it a side project? We'll do that next. Danny and Friends, 1080 The Fan.
What would you say you do here?
All right, we got a loaded third hour coming up. We'll slide into a little more basketball as things have been crazy for the last 24 hours. And some question I want to ask is the East versus the West and how they're building rosters, because it seems pretty different to me. Plus some NFL notes as things are moving along. You know what? I might just derail this. Have you noticed? So NFL's king, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all know this. We all accept this. Max Free just gave up a three-run home run, and I'm absolutely livid right now. But that's
You were literally just saying, please, God, I just need the outs.
I just need the outs. I'm a fantasy loser. Anyway, NFL is king. But boy, let me tell you what. The NBA is sure giving a run at the NFL. It almost seems intentional. Because, like, when you listen to national punditry, the TV shows, the radio shows, we're still talking about Dak and the Cowboys and Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. You know, obviously it drives clicks, and I completely understand. We try not to do that here at this station, whether you're the guys in the morning, whoever, you know, you and Dusty and the boys after us. But it feels like the NBA is doing this intentionally. My examples are Luka during the Super Bowl. And here we are July 1st as everybody is gearing up for the NFL because the NBA's done, the hockey's done, it's just baseball, boring, give me the NFL. And here's the NBA once again inserting itself and being dominant.
Yeah, there's certainly some questions to be asked of the CBA, not just of the holistic idea of the CBA and how it's changing the fundamental team building principles, but it is going to, like, I think one of the things that came out of this is that it's very clear that the new CBA is going to drive actions by teams all the time. And I was watching McAfee this morning with Gary Bettman. He was on the NHL commissioner. And if you didn't watch the NHL playoffs this year, number one, you're lost because they were great.
I mean, massive success. Hockey is a little similar to baseball in the sense that it feels like it's never been better.
Yeah.
I mean, the NBA's kind of getting back to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be hard to say the NBA is better than it was in the 80s or the 90s, but it could get there. But hockey and baseball right now are on a hot streak.
But Bettman brought up, you know, the Panthers have won back-to-back, but he's like, the way that we're going into this, because they're getting their new CBA done a year ahead of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a crazy thing there, in that actually they're growing the games.
Yep.
And they're going from 82 to 84. They're cutting down their preseason
Which is
games.
so strange. You would think you would do less.
Yeah, you'd think 82 would be the cap.
Because the NBA wants to go backwards, and I'm surprised
can't.
the hockey's going the other way.
The NBA cannot do that under the CBA.
I know, but they want to. Well, not the NBA, but the players want to.
Yeah, like, of course you do. You want to get that money and playoffs. I mean, that's win-win for you. But as it pertains to the NHL, he was talking about how we want every fan base. Like, we're every 5 years, you think you have a chance.
Yeah.
And the churn is part of that, like the prohibitive nature of the CBAs and what it forces teams to do. And I think that's really interesting. And I think it pertains to, this is going to sound negative, and, well, it is negative, the attention span of gnats. Like this generation, whether it's the COVID generation or the ones before
the youngins
that,
before us,
because we're all old enough.
My kids,
yeah, but we were
8,
all,
10, and 12.
You know, we were all old enough that we grew up playing outside when come home when the street lights come on.
Yep,
we grew up through the internet era. Like, we were the last generation of you had to find something to do.
Yep.
Where now there's this overabundance.
It's too much
things.
stuff to do,
and so like competing for attention because it's so finite and so short. That's where you see the social media diseases that are coming out of this, like the literal brain rot that is coming out of this stuff. And leagues are trying to adjust to that. It's like, well, what can we do? Like, sure, dynasties are great in the sense of the traditional sports watching when we had monoculture, but that's not the case anymore. And like, how do you keep their attention? Well, constant change. And I think that's a big consideration when you're looking at this stuff now.
So I think what I'm hearing, though, is that this is more lightning in a bottle. That this is more a circumstantial, because if what you're saying is true and we are on the precipice of a CBA situation, that's why things are as crazy, which makes me think the next few cycles will be a lot more calm. Therefore, the NBA isn't sticking its nose into this, because a lot of times the NFL will stick its nose into the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL will stick its nose into the national championship in college
How about
football.
Christmas Day?
Christmas Day, it's taken over the NBA. That I was curious if the NBA is kind of punching back.
Oh, they aren't thrilled about it.
But from what you're saying, what I'm taking from what you're saying is that it's just more of a this year. That the Luka's an anomaly during the Super Bowl, and that this is going to be a larger NBA offseason than most years due to its situation. That next year won't necessarily take away from the NFL.
Well, no, next year is pretty big because
this is the third show I've done with you in the last month, and all we talk is basketball. That's huge.
Yeah.
Usually this time of the year, it's NFL.
You're starting to head into stuff.
You're starting to get into it.
You know,
we are still talking about Aaron Rodgers and, is Caleb Williams going to take a jump, and Dak Prescott, and how bad are the Jets, and blah, 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 blah.
We have all those storylines,
but
but the NBA is, and again, I don't necessarily like it, but it's the path that they've gone down. They want to be the social media brand. Like
they are the social media brand
because it's every time Adam Silver gets them in talks. It's not about ratings. It's not about the state of the game. It's our social impressions are this, and our YouTube shorts are this, and like you couldn't get away from the NBA Finals without being beat over the head by YouTube.
Yep.
Just an endless amount of brought to you by YouTube. YouTube. We like tubes. YouTube, iTube. It's like, oh my God, please stop. Please. But that's what they are leaning into. And for better or worse, that is the path that they're going to go down and try to capitalize on.
Yeah, I've always said that. I've said this in the past. The NBA and the NFL both hit kind of a fork in the road. I would say MLB and hockey too, but everybody kind of knew what they were going to do. Hit a fork in the road where you had to choose one. You're going to go left, you're going to go right. Mm-hmm. And one of the, let's just say to the left was integrity of the game, about the game, the rules, and keeping it competitive, etc. And the other side is the entertainment route. Yep. And I always felt the NFL went to the left and went to the integrity of the game, growing the game, keeping things tight and controlled, etc. To where the NBA went full on entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
The
WWE almost.
Yeah. That's why kind of the day-to-day gameplay kind of became a little boring. Kind of people I started to lose a little interest, stuff like that. The NBA or the NFL, we found out, actually just pretended to go that direction, but actually went the entertainment route. But I think now you're kind of seeing that maybe, and I always thought that was a poor choice by the NBA.
Yeah, you would have a pretty solid agreement from everybody who covers the league.
But maybe now we're seeing that foundation has now been built, and it is still such a sensationalized league that now the sensations are larger, the impressions are larger than they've ever been, that now we can work on the game. That we've got eyeballs, we've got people in here, and now we can work on the game. Can they compete with the NFL? I don't think so.
No,
but it is fascinating to bring this kind of full circle to see them taking punches at the NFL in the offseason when it's usually them that dominates the topics, dominates our world.
Yeah, the interesting thing in that vein is, number one, they're never going to compete with the NFL. But it is interesting in the sense of like how they're going about this, because the betterment of the game stuff, you saw Adam Silver and the NBA get bullied during the NBA Finals.
Yep.
And I thought it was great because basically everybody who's covered the game is like, what is this pregame show? Like,
no player introductions. They got raked over the coals for that. And finally decided to do it.
Game 3, they finally, it was game 3 or game 5. They finally hey, we're going to show you the national anthem and all. Like, there was a full 180-degree pivot because you don't go from not doing it, particularly in game 1, to doing it later in the series.
Yeah.
Unless you're getting bullied. Why? Because the Stanley Cup playoffs are going on at the same time, and I'm sitting there watching the introduction, and the microphone goes into the crowd in Edmonton, and "O Canada" is belted out by 19,000 people, and the laser light show.
Nothing to do with a Canada versus USA team. Nothing at all.
No, but I mean, like, if you don't watch the NHL playoffs, or if you've never seen an Edmonton Oilers game, the anthem singer is in the crowd. And then the whole crowd joins in.
It's a little Timbers-esque, like we sing at Timbers games. I say we because I'm part of it.
You're literally wearing a Timbers hat. But like the pomp and circumstance, the first 2 games of the NBA Finals felt like a game in January.
There was no excitement to it. And that was strange, especially, and it was almost
this is your marquee product, dog. What are you doing?
It's like they knew that this is going to be a ratings disaster, so I guess we'll just wave the white flag.
And instead, it was a ratings bonanza.
Instead, it was awesome.
Because the basketball, the product
was fantastic. The impressions were there. That's what got everybody upset about Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A. and the anthem and introductions and the halftime shows and all that stuff, because it's like, look, you've got us here. Now deliver us the product.
Which has always been there, but they just didn't prioritize it.
I want these two to keep fighting, the NBA and the NFL. It's almost like the little brother that like gets a couple jabs. You're like, ooh, got him.
Yeah, you want to see the NHL and MLB and NBA and NFL all be successful because it means the innovation continues to go.
All right, loaded third hour coming up. A big upset over across the pond. We'll get into that, plus some NFL news and notes. This is Danny and Friends, Portland sports leader. Don't you forget it. 1080 The Fan.
I'm
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update, which is brought to you by Reynolds Defense Firm. If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys that you can put your trust into. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today, online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, the Trailblazers announced they've signed number 16 overall pick Jan Hansen to his rookie scale contract. The Blazers originally scheduled to pick at number 11. They traded back to 16 to take Hansen. They also got an additional first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. ESPN Shams Charania reporting the Bucks waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the remaining $113 million of his contract over the next 5 seasons. Lillard was waived, so Milwaukee could sign center Miles Turner to a 4-year, $107 million deal. Shams also reporting the Thunder signing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to a 4-year, $285 million Supermax contract through the 2030-31 season. It is the largest annual salary in the history of the league, and the Raptors and Jakob Poeltl reportedly agreeing on a 4-year, $104 million extension. The Mariners and Royals back at it tonight at T-Mobile Park. Emerson Hancock opposite Michael Lorenzen. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. And from the NFL, multiple reports say tight end Darren Waller coming out of retirement and will join the Dolphins They're sending a 6th-round pick to the Giants, who still held his rights. The Dolphins receive Waller and a conditional 7th-round pick. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks? Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Portland, if you've ever wondered where to get your Blazers, Ducks, and Beavs, it's right here on the airwaves of 1080. 1080 The Fan with Danny and Dusty. It's Danny and Dusty and Rust from noon till 3.
Hour number, Trey. Again, I always say, if you missed any of the previous hours, download that Fan Podcast, 1080thefan.com, the Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcast. We have a little bit of breaking news from across the pond.
Down goes Anderson! Down goes Anderson!
Coco Gauff becomes just the 3rd woman in the Open era to lose in the first round at Wimbledon after winning the Francais Open, or the Roland Garros, as they call it now. But down goes the American, riding a hot streak, being great, USA, and hits Wimbledon and goes down.
Say it. I know.
Do it.
I don't like.
I dare
I don't
you.
like tennis.
I love it.
Like, and again, if you
Say more.
If you like it, cool. Look, I was a guy that until a couple months ago, like, I wasn't a huge golf guy. Now, in Tiger's
You love playing it.
Yeah, I do.
But you weren't a golf watcher.
Now, Tiger.
Wow.
Appointment viewing. Like, tune me in Saturday and Sunday, baby. Let's go. But I was always a casual golf guy.
Sure.
Now, when it's like, when I've got nothing else on, I'm watching golf. I'm like, okay, let me see that. Okay, that makes one. I think a lot of it has to do with like my lack of familiarity with tennis. Like, I never really played it. It was never a sport that interested me. And I've just people like, well, do you not like solo sports? I'm like, no, I wrestled. Like, yeah, no, I have no problem with that.
Solo sports.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I'm certainly more of a team sports guy.
I could love golf and not love tennis. That has nothing to do with solo sports.
But some people, like, that was like their first thing. I'm like, no, it was just...
The NBA for a while was a solo sport.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I appreciate tennis players. Like,
Serena
There's
no
and her
disrespect
peaks,
taken.
Djokovic, Federer, like Rafa on the clay courts. Yeah, I would tune in and watch here or there. But it's just not my jam.
Yeah.
If it's your thing, it's cool. What I've always found fascinating, you know which sport has the highest level endorsements?
I wouldn't be shocked if you're about to say tennis.
It's tennis.
Tennis and golf.
Because, tennis...
Maybe because they're solo.
Not just that.
Tennis, golf, and Shohei Ohtani.
They're brought to you
and
by
the Kelsey brothers.
Rolex.
Yeah.
They're brought to you by Mercedes AMG.
When you go over to Europe, Federer's on every billboard with a Swiss watch.
And it's like, even though the brands aren't, I mean, there are like synonymous global brands, but they're not sports brands. They're luxury brands.
Right.
And so the money that goes into it, not just for endorsements, but the actual individual sponsors of events, are these companies that are like, they're selling things that are otherworldly expensive, and the people that they're targeting to are significantly higher income brackets.
Yeah, there's a reason
they're not pushing Gatorade.
Yeah, you see Buick commercials during an NFL game, because those that watch NFL can buy a Buick. You see Mercedes when you watch tennis. I think for me also two points. One to get to what you're saying. Sometimes we underestimate the power of sports outside of this country. Not saying you are, but I think sometimes us as a collective, we as Americans, and to be fair, we do this with a lot of stuff.
I mean,
we underestimate soccer, cricket, tennis, rugby, all that kind of stuff outside of America are really freaking big.
Yeah,
they're like, tennis is a big deal in England.
There was a study done as far as like metrics.
And they do host the most fancy tournament.
They do. And it was I can't remember how they did it, but they basically said that basketball has caught up to soccer. I believe that. The world's most popular sport.
I believe that. With China's super in it, so you got that side of the world, and now you've got Eastern Europe all the way,
and Africa
Africa to Eastern Europe, all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. Like that whole European and now Africa. I mean, look at the draft. We got academy players coming into the NBA in lottery picks.
Yep,
like
and
that's huge
from NBA Africa.
Yeah,
like, and then again, China, Portland, Young Hansen.
What up?
Portland's gonna have a lot of eyes on them. If Hansen is
great. We're a
good
wonderful player. Don't listen to the news. This place is wonderful.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But Yeah, no, we do take a look at it. And again, if you're a tennis person, all the power to you. It's just not for me. I've like, oh, did you watch, this match? Like, now if we get, was it Isner that had like the insane 6-hour match at Wimbledon? Like
a
few years ago,
who he was playing.
It was like 7-8 years ago, right?
And he's like 6'5". He's a monster.
They had to continue the match the next
The next day.
Yeah, it went on.
They lost daylight.
It went on for like 6-7 hours.
There are
something like
no
that.
lights at Wimbledon.
That's so crazy.
That's
to me.
kind of rad.
It's kind of cool, but
it's like baseball in the 20s.
But that, I mean, when that happened, that caught my attention. Like, because no matter what sport it is, like if some average golfer shot a 59 at an open event,
which happens.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to tune in because
maybe
like
not a 59, but
you know what I mean? Like somebody just goes bonkers, so far out of the norm
that you've never heard of this person.
Even, let's say Tiger does it. Like,
sure.
I don't care who it is. Like if somebody does something, like we get the alert for a perfect game, buddy, I'm dropping what I'm doing.
Nick Martinez, who's that? Well, he might throw a no-hitter. He's a decent little pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds.
Don't care. I'm in. Like when you get those kind of things, like in tennis, like a match is going to go on forever, or the world-ranked 392nd player is knocking off Serena Williams in her prime.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll flip that. But otherwise, it's not my jam.
Yeah, and I think for me, I always kind of say, I've taken, and I've come around a lot of this. Brandon Sprague and I actually text a lot about this, about my issues with the NBA, and I'm starting to kind of come out of it a little bit, talking about, like, well, what do you know? What do you care about? You don't even watch. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, I will always watch high leverage sports. Now I've become a lot more of an NBA guy, especially if this is the direction we're going. Probably Nuggets, like we were talking earlier. Like I really like where basketball is right now. That I will always watch high leverage sports, no matter what it is. The British Open, was it the British Open? Yeah, bunch of dudes at the top. Never heard of these guys, or the U.S. Open. Sorry, bunch of dudes at the top. Never heard of these dudes. Glued to the television, and I feel the same way about tennis. That even if I don't know a lot of these people, it's still high leverage sports, and I will still tune it on without needing the no hitter or without needing the Coco Gauff going down. I will still tune in, and sometimes it creates a really weird and crazy spot in my life. We were watching the French Open final, or I was watching the highlights of it, and my oldest walks in and she goes, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Well, that's Carlos Alcaraz." And she goes, "You mean my future husband?"
Oh, there you go.
You're like, "Oh." So now in my house, we watch Alcaraz whenever he plays tennis.
It happens.
So you're like,
it's a good-looking man.
So those kind of things you just kind of pick up, and that helps me. And maybe that's the casual sports junkie in me.
Brother, Anna Kournikova existed.
Yeah, I also, as much as I love baseball, as much as I love soccer, I can't do it all the time. Sure. I need something to break it up.
Yeah.
That's why I love the fall so much, because you get, like in September, there's baseball, there's NFL, college football, and then when you get later on in like November, December, you've got football, NBA, college basketball, and there's more that I can switch around. If I don't love the Monday night game,
sure,
I will watch a Big East basketball game instead of Monday Night Football if that's going to entertain me more. And I think that's where I am with tennis and golf and some of the more quote-unquote fringe sports. I'm probably the most fringe sport guy we have at the station. Not that that's like a badge of honor or anything. I'm just kind of a weirdo that way.
No, for sure.
And tennis has always had a soft spot in my heart for the long years of restaurant working, because I remember getting off work at 12:30, 1 a.m. and going to the bar and watching Nadal Federer.
Because it's on the other side of the world, the Australian Open.
Yeah, and that's why the Australian Open is on my bucket list of sporting events. I would rather go to the Australian Open than the Super Bowl for the reason I just described, because of what it meant for me situationally.
Not just that, like the destination of it. Like that.
Can I tell you who won all the Australian Opens? Hell no. I don't know anything about it.
But it'd be really cool.
I just know it's live sports at midnight.
Yeah, and there's something cool about that.
Soon to be brought to you by robots.
There you go. Oh, God. I will die on the hill that October is the best sports month on the entire calendar.
October.
NBA getting in the swing. NFL in the swing. Baseball, World Series.
Fully on.
NHL getting under, like college basketball.
About to start.
Yeah, like it is the sports month. Like
so weird.
It's just, there's so much going on.
The 10th month of the year, called the 8th month of the year.
Right. What was that, Gregorian calendar?
I have no idea.
All things got changed around.
I have no idea. But that's people smarter than me.
But that's why, like, the summer months have the golfs and the tennis, because they can live and they can breathe in that moment.
Yeah, because they, like I said, but that's on this side of the world.
Sure.
That could be true because, tennis is more of a summertime sport and football is off, so maybe that's why the Europeans can give more attention to it because they're not, they eat their NFL is during our NFL season. Well, it's like our NFL and NBA.
I will say when it pertains to tennis specifically, and I think golf too, like when you've got a young phenom, and I know Coco's good, very good.
But and she's not Serena.
No, like then that's the difference for me. Like when Serena and Venus were coming out and like just putting it on people at 18, 19 years old, that was like.
I remember when I was the Venus guy over Serena. I was like, Venus is way better than Serena. Then I was like, ooh, you're wrong.
Oh yeah,
you're very wrong.
Yeah, Serena turns out she's one of those powerful.
Yeah, like even in golf, I love where Scotty Scheffler is, and he's the best golfer in the world, and probably the closest consistent we've had since Tiger, but he's not a phenom like Tiger.
And I think that's for the casuals.
Yeah,
those are what carry the brand.
That's true. All right, when we come back, let's get to the big boys. Some NFL news and notes. I know you guys talked about this yesterday, but I don't understand, and I'd like to talk about it next. This is Danny and Friends. I almost called this the Hot Corner. That's tonight at 7, not this. Portland sports leader today, the Fan.
Nah, we ain't taking that.
Danny and Friends here, Portland sports leader. I'm Patrick Harris. Hey, that's Danny Meringue. He actually runs the show, and that's the real MVP over there behind the glass running the show, Jeffrey Rust Jr. A little NFL news and notes. Something that hit me that I was absolutely floored by that I thought was hilarious as we talk post NFL draft and looking at the Cleveland Browns and their crazy quarterback situation of their 5 quarterbacks in the room, and I don't know if any of them can actually play. A report came out that Deshaun Watson has taken Shedeur Sanders under his wing in a mentorship. And let me tell you, now I know Shedeur is not your average player because his daddy would be primetime, but if I'm Shedeur Sanders' father and Shedeur says, yeah, Dad, Deshaun's like really taking a liking to me and he's kind of showing me the ropes, full stop, exit the building, delete his phone number, do not talk to that man again.
Block the number, call Kevin Stefanski and be like, dog, I need him out.
I need him gone.
Gone now. Like,
that cannot be a great way to start your career.
No, and here's the thing, and I want to separate these two things. Deshaun Watson, terrible human being. 100% god-awful.
Yeah.
Before he got traded from Houston to Cleveland.
Pretty damn good quarterback.
He was a top 5 quarterback.
For sure.
Like,
That's why he got paid.
He was very, very good.
Yeah, say what you want about that stupid contract and how the NFL dodged its terrible potential ramifications.
Well, and the collusion part of that.
Yeah.
Florio and those guys.
But he earned that money. Like, he was worth that money at the time.
Sure. From an output standpoint,
From him on the field before we heard about everything crazy.
Yes, like that part of it is 100% true. But like when you're talking about a guy mentoring somebody, do you want, a cream of the crop guy? And the NFL is always very strange with this, but particularly the quarterback position, because you remember when Rodgers got drafted and sat 4 years behind Favre, that was a very icy relationship.
Very icy.
Favre went out of his way to like, he's here to take my job. No, I'm not taking him under my wing.
And Rodgers kind of did the same thing to Jordan Love.
Yeah. And like, that's not unique to those
but that's
guys.
also the impression that he got while he was there. He got that impression like, oh, this guy doesn't want to help me because he's afraid I'm going to take his job. So then when you become that guy, you feel the same way because that's what you're told. It's kind of like, if your father was a jerk, you might be a jerk too. And your kids might be a jerk. Apple doesn't fall.
It's kind of how it goes. It's like, is that the guy you want mentoring Shedeur when, like, the way Shedeur has handled things publicly
has not been great?
No. And I don't think Deshaun Watson, despite his proclivities in being an awful human, is that the guy you want, even if the football stuff is great?
Yeah, because how far does it go? Is it just football or is it, hey, what are you doing tonight? What are you up to? Hey, I know the best spots in Cleveland. You want to go out?
It's like, I don't want to go down that
path. Especially, I'd rather have a guy like Kenny Pickett who hasn't even been in the league that long mentoring him. Give me the old man Joe Flacco.
Or that's exactly what I was going to go. Like,
but I do wonder, I think on the surface, and what I have to assume it is that Shedeur's playing style is so much more similar to Deshaun Watson. And that's probably why it would, in theory make sense to have this guy kind of show you the ropes. When in reality, I think it's just too messy and too ugly.
Yeah, the ropes are a lot wider out. If I'm running the Browns, the valet ropes, I don't want a wide berth.
No.
I wanted a very tight path. I don't want that red carpet to hold more than one other person. It's a 2-person wide red carpet, and the guy that I want walking down him with it is not Deshaun Watson.
And there's too much at stake. I mean, we all heard the stories about how ownership stepped in and said, you draft him even though they didn't really want to. So what you need him to do is you need him to focus on playing quarterback. You do not need him to focus on somebody telling him how to play quarterback. That's Stefanski's job. That's the OC's job. That's the quarterback coach's job. Hell, I'd rather the GM be teaching him how to play quarterback than Deshaun Watson.
Well, that's the thing is, like, when you talk about when you're drafting a young quarterback, and remember, Shedeur fell down beyond Dylan Gabriel. So as far as how the organization views him, as far as talent-wise and the stuff that comes along with it, he was a 5th-round quarterback. And, again, I mentioned the Mike Florio and Pablo Torre, the whole collusion report. We still haven't talked about that. We need to get to that at some point, probably this week. But the gist of it is around the Deshaun Watson stuff. And there was some thought that may have been true with Shedeur, but there's also, like, the talent with Shedeur is also – the NFL is not a place where if the talent is so overwhelmingly good that teams are going to just be like, nah, he's a head case. No, you make the pick.
Yeah.
So there's that question of it. But there's also the capital that was invested into him was only a 5th-round pick.
It's not much.
It's
5th and 6th rounds are almost, I hate to say disposable because there are guys that have come around out
don't
of
be
the 5th
wrong.
and
like
6th round.
when you hit there, when you
When you
get
hit,
the
it
Brock
hits.
Purdy of the world, it does some stuff.
Yeah, it's similar to 2nd round of the NBA. It seems throwaway, but there's a couple dudes that hit.
Yeah, when you get a Draymond or a Jokic,
Yeah, that works.
You're doing pretty
when
well.
When you get a Tom Brady, that works.
But those are so few and far between. But you're not. And again, this is so Brownsian. Like this is just
you
like
just can't get out of your own way.
This is how this is going to happen. Really?
Yeah, and there have been some quarterbacks that can figure it out. Some of them take a little longer by not having those mentors in your face, like Justin Herbert wasn't supposed to start right away, but he got thrust into it and he was able to do it. Look how long it took Sam Darnold to figure it out. Bounced around to a couple teams, couldn't quite figure it out, lands himself in a great situation.
Disasters.
Yeah, lands himself in a good situation, then gets paid, and now he knows, okay, if I'm not going back to Minnesota, I need to go to somewhere stable. And he goes somewhere to, the Seahawks instead of going to the Panthers. I know he was there, but I'm just using them as an example. Because now you've learned, okay, Lamar never really had somebody to tutor him. He was just a smart enough, dog enough guy to kind of figure it out as he went along. Plus he had John Harbaugh. You can lean on that guy. That's where Sanders should be leaning, on a Stefanski, not a Deshaun
Yeah,
Watson.
and that's the interesting thing. You look at the smartest organizations in football, when they make a quarterback change that maybe takes some time, they do have somebody there to, like you said, Herbert. I mean, if it not for a punctured lung from a bad shot to a rib, Herbert's not starting when he is.
Nope.
You've got Taylor out there, but because somebody sticks a needle a millimeter too deep and deflates his freaking lung.
Yep. Hey, kid. Get ready.
We need you to play. But, they were putting safeguards into place, and I'm not using the Chargers as the Spanos family as the mark of consistency here, but, there was somebody there that was you never.
And then you bring in Harbaugh. Yeah, the other Harbaugh.
But you never hear about Tyrod Taylor being a problem.
No.
And so if you're going to
career backup and probably made a ton of money and one of the better backups you'd want on your team.
You bring in guys that, number one, aren't a real threat for the long term,
but can keep you through some dark times.
But they also are going to show you the ropes the right way.
Yeah.
You never heard of Tyrod Taylor popping up in the tabloids or having stuff like.
And he's been all over the place. He's been in
Baltimore,
New York City,
league.
Buffalo, San Diego, LA. Was LA at the time? Yeah, it was LA at the time. Yeah, it's putting yourself in those right situations. And that's everything. And again, as you said, Browns being Browns, is this also a Shador being a Shador thing?
It's both. It 100% is.
You got humbled. You're trying to come back, rebuild your image. I'm just here to work out. I'm here to be better. I'm here to compete, and I'm going after it. This is one of those things that ticks you off, and then, or not pisses you off, but ticks you off to the point that you're being brought down, and none of us are going to have faith in you.
Did you see the other crazy story that came out of the NFL?
What?
Darren Waller.
Out of retirement because they need a tight end,
because they shipped Jonnu Smith up to the Steelers as part of the Minka Fitzpatrick Jalen Ramsey
and don't
deal.
they owe money to the Giants now? I think that's what I read.
To me, is it eternally funny that the choice was play for the Giants or retire? Darren Waller went,
I'll retire.
And now he's going to unretire and go play for the Dolphins.
The Dolphins are sending a 6th-round pick to the Giants.
And
then the Dolphins get Waller and a conditional 7th-rounder.
So he's basically being traded.
Yes.
But
because the Giants still held his rights.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely hilarious. It's I'd rather retire than play for this S show.
The old Barry and Calvin route.
But it's also kind of funny where when you look at it, we were talking about this yesterday. The Dolphins are a complete S show. Raheem Mostert was awesome. Go to the Dolphins, become a Pro Bowler, get treated like S, then go get paid, go get taken care of. And it's the Giants were so dysfunctional and so bad that Waller was nah. But the Dolphins' level of dysfunction, and again, it's Miami, so
yeah,
that could talk you into some stuff.
But I also think Waller is in a situation where I don't know how much better he's going to get in the NFL. I don't know how many more contracts he's going to get in the NFL. So his
rap career's not taking off.
So it's probably not the worst decision in the world for him to say, you know what, I'm just done. Am I really going to hang on to be in this S show for a while, or can I just hang it up? I might take the route he took.
You fumble Kelsey Plume.
Well, I don't fumble Kelsey Plume.
Yeah,
that's the state.
I mean, that's that's, where that, you do that and you go to New York and you're like, now I have nothing.
Now I have nothing.
Let me go to Miami and try to get something back.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Miami's nice.
That's what I'm saying. Like the
taxes are better, way better than New York City.
The money, the lifestyle, the weather,
the beach,
the allure there is probably significantly higher. And you're looking in your New York penthouse around and going,
there's actually a quarterback there. Say what you want about Tua, but there's a real quarterback there. There's some offensive weapons, so you don't have to be the guy. You can kind of just run some routes, catch some balls, and block some dudes.
And it's, Miami.
It is Miami.
But when I saw that this morning,
although Buffalo sucks in December.
You're not wrong. I think that's why there's one other team struggle up there. But I was just like, of all of the crazy things to do, like how many tight ends are out in the free agent market, you're like, let's go get the retired guy.
Let's go get the retired guy.
That just speaks to just how dysfunctional the Giants and the Dolphins are.
Yeah. And there's one more dysfunction that I want to get into. Well, I know you guys did yesterday, but I just need some help. Help me understand. Help me understand. We'll stick in the same division as the AFC North, which might be the most fascinating division, not for good reasons, but just in terms of fascination that the NFL's got. We'll do that next, but first, Rusty with sports.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Trailblazers announced they've signed number 16 overall pick Young Hansen to his rookie scale contract. Originally slated to pick at number 11, they traded back to 16 and acquired an additional first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. ESPN Shams Charania reporting the Bucks waiving Damian Lillard and stretching the remaining $113 million of his contract over the next 5 seasons. Lillard was waived so Milwaukee could sign center Miles Turner to a 4-year, $107 million deal. Shams also reporting the Thunder signing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to a 4-year, $285 million Supermax contract through the 2030-31 season. More Shams. Raptors and Jakob Poeltl have agreed to a 4-year, $104 million extension, and the Clippers waiving center Drew Eubanks, but the Shack of Troutdale plans to sign a 1-year deal with the Kings after clearing waivers. Mariners and Royals back at it tonight at T-Mobile Park. Emerson Hancock opposite Michael Lorenzen. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. The Mariners are 6 games back of the Astros in the AL West. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The Fan Merch Locker has a new black 1080 The Fan hoodie, as well as classic long and short sleeve tees. Get yours now at 1080thefan.com.
Number one coming up in a half hour primetime. Isaac and Suk, they'll be with you in about 30 minutes. So just bear and grin it. We'll take you there. I'll take you there.
Oh, there you go.
It feels like, we talk about this in any league about how important it is to have stability at ownership, GM, head coach, all the way to trickle down.
Yeah.
And it still fascinates me that, the 9 billion, probably 11, 12 billion industry that the NFL is now, that we still don't understand it, even when it comes to teams that have had decades, if not a century of stability, like the Pittsburgh Steelers. It still fascinates me to the end of time that even teams like the Steelers that can have that built-in kind of, legacy, identity, man of the people sort of brand, and can still make you go, huh? And that's where I sit. And this is the part of the show where I go, I need some help. I need some help understanding why you're trading a safety for a corner, and now you need a safety, but you just traded the best safety away. When you trade a wide receiver, when you trade for a wide receiver, but trade away your other wide receiver, and now you need a wide receiver. And you need a quarterback, so you got one on a rental, basically, and still don't have other quarterbacks. I'm really fascinated by the Steelers thing because it's in my entire lifetime, even when I was a wee little one and didn't know what was going on, this feels the most unstable, the most stable franchise has ever been.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit yesterday. It does kind of have that mark, and I think you're right because obviously we weren't alive in the Steel Curtain days, but we grew up on NFL films and all that kind of stuff of the Bradshaw era and the Steel Curtain defense and everything that was.
The Lynn Swans of the world.
And then it grew into the what we grew up with, which was the Jerome Bettis, Neil O'Donnell, Maddox.
So glad you said Neil O'Donnell.
Oh yeah,
I remember that. That's when I'm really starting to watch football.
I remember
Niners, Cowboys.
Those were outside of the Raiders, even though they were conference rivals, we like the Steelers. So that was a team that we always liked because
old school brands, super identity, diehard Rabid fans,
super easy to get into because the style of football they played.
The owners, long time, big personalities for very different reasons,
very much so,
but big personalities.
But the Steelers, with the exception of the Roethlisberger run, they are the best floor-setting team in the NFL. I don't think anyone's even remotely.
It's a
close.
Great way to put it.
But they also have a very finite ceiling of what they can be, and it feels like that every year they've just gone a little, like when you're grasping at those straws, when you had a firm grasp with two hands, there you go, there's a clean drop for you. Now it feels like you're barely holding on.
And that's what I wonder. I wonder if even an organization like that, if eventually it reaches a breaking point. Look
at three coaches in 34 years? 44 years between Noel,
Cowher, and Tomlin. Yeah. Look at the Patriots. They weren't the level standard. Made a Super Bowl in the 80s. Yeah. Made another one in the 90s.
But outside that dynastic run,
exactly
their history outside that dynastic run, which was insane for basically 20 years. Mm-hmm. They're one of the worst franchises in the entire league.
Totally. And we lived through it, how fast that crumbled. Mm-hmm. And that crumbled really, really fast. So I'm curious if now this is where it finally catches up to the Steelers. And I might be grasping at straws, and I might be overreacting here.
I don't think you're overreacting.
But this is kind of the start. Yeah. The cracks in the foundation we're starting to see.
They've earned the benefit of the doubt.
Without a doubt.
That's
and they'll still have it for, I would say, at least 5 more years. Even if Tomlin gets fired in the middle of this season, which I would be shocked if happens. Even if they miss the playoffs, they have the number 1 pick in the draft. I'm still going to give them a few more years. That teams inevitably eventually are bad. That's just how it goes.
Again, you're talking about the Steelers that have not been under 500 with Tomlin.
The Lakers have had top 3 picks in the last 10 years.
Yeah,
it happens.
The post-Kobe era was an S show.
It's not great. It was happens just to everyone. But to your point, like you said, and kind of what I'm getting at, the Steelers have always had that. They've always been able to weather that storm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I think this division might be so fascinating, because they no longer have that benefit of the doubt, or they're starting to lose that little bit of benefit of the doubt. Plus what's going on in Cleveland. Can Joe Burrow come back, and can Lamar finally win a Super Bowl? That's why I think that. I just didn't expect it to be in this realm of losing faith in the most faith-oriented organization.
And that's kind of the crux of it all, is like the all good things must come to an end. At some point in time, they're going to not find a head coach that doesn't last a decade plus.
It's true. I mean, they got lucky with Tomlin. I even think when they hired Tomlin, we were kind of like, really?
Yeah.
This guy?
I mean, Belichick was not a guy that, was coming off raving success.
Hall of Fame coordinator, pretty brutal head coach.
It's like, and so I talk about this so often as it pertains to the NBA, but this is true across sports. Luck. And nobody ever wants to admit luck, especially people who are worth billions of dollars.
It's true.
Because
so
I
much
got
to
here
it.
because I'm so much smarter. It's like, no. I mean, sure, Huang, who founded NVIDIA.
Yeah.
He can say I'm so much smarter.
Sure.
I can say, if I'm him, I can go, I'm so much smarter. I did this better than anybody else, and it made me one of the richest humans on the face of the planet.
But he's also smart enough to know that there's a couple moments where he got lucky. Let's take a nobody like me, all right? Did not win the first hunt for the host.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up winning the second for the hunt for the host. Do you think I did that because I was better than everybody? No, I got a little lucky.
Yeah.
I got a little lucky that some topics went my way and some topics didn't go somebody else's way.
And, what they're looking at and what they're going for. And same thing from, like,
I used to get crap when I'd audition for plays when I was an actor for a long time.
Sure.
I'd always get cast. And people were like, oh, you're just a favorite. And it's like, no. Do you notice that it's not like I'm in leads all the time? I'm not the best character all the time. But you walk into an audition and the point is to get cast, correct? Yeah. Well, that's what I did.
I got that. I always joke about it.
But I still got lucky doing it.
I continue to fail upwards. But I am.
Can I have a piece of that, Danny?
Yeah, right?
Can I have a piece of failing upwards?
Like, it's one of those things where, anybody who's ever DM'd me, texted me, emailed me, like a young person in trying to work in media.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I tell every single person. Is
don't do it.
Unless you are Noah Eagle.
Yeah.
Those paths,
the prodigy.
Like those, there's the luck there is that he's the son of Ian Eagle, but he's also otherworldly gifted. Like, Noah is incredible.
Kenny Albert.
Like, yeah.
Same situation.
It's like, yeah, the nepotism plays a part, but like, yeah.
But he's also really good.
But he got lucky that he's Ian Eagle's kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he's not, does he maybe get some of the same opportunities?
Does Kenny get the same if his dad's not Marv?
And like, in my very small space and circumstance, I went to high school with Ben Golliver.
Hey, cool. I met that guy.
Ben's now the lead NBA writer at the Washington Post.
Yeah,
but he was at Blazers Edge, and he vouched for me and was like, no, Danny, you should go do this. And I was like, I don't know. But like, whether it's him or Dave Deckard or guys at other radio stations in town or guys here, somebody opened a door for me at the right time that worked.
Yeah, and eventually, even for people like you and me, luck runs out. And I think that might be where the Steelers are.
Yeah,
is that luck is finally
you may reach a certain threshold. You may be very successful for a long time, but it comes for everyone.
Yeah, now there's news that if teams are calling about TJ Watt, they're not just calling out of the blue for not multiple. One team might randomly call about Luka Doncic.
There's certainly,
and they're like, actually, he is available.
Some sticks being rubbed together. There's a little bit of smoke.
If multiple people are calling, then yeah, there's got to be a little bit of fire where that smoke is. And that's where I wondered. I mean, you're now talking about moving franchise players. I consider Minkah Fitzpatrick. I know he spent time in Miami. He, to me, is a Steeler.
Yeah.
I think of him as a Steeler.
Sure.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but if he were to get a bust in Canton, he would go in as a Steeler. So he's gone. And now you're thinking about moving TJ Watt. Is it more of a, we need to reset and gain some capital? Or, like I said, are these the cracks in the foundation? And I worry it's more the latter.
The luck part of that. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. If you're watching TJ Watt and you've just watched his brother's career, and TJ is emulating that very tightly.
Very well, yeah.
Incredibly productive.
I sometimes like TJ more than JJ.
Fair.
JJ wasn't on the field all the time.
But that's it right there. If you're looking at TJ and he's starting to pick up these nicks and dings because he's so available and he plays so hard.
Is it genetic?
Well, it's the same thing we talk about with the brothers from Ohio State. Good Lord.
The Boses.
Boses, thank you. God, I totally blanked on their names. Like, they're too big and too explosive for their bodies.
Yeah.
That's why they break down. It's like, if you look at
where shock Myles Garrett hasn't broken down.
Like, yeah, we continue to wait for the demise of Derrick Henry. He might just be the LeBron James of football, where he just might never.
We're waiting for the demise of LeBron James. You just said it. Still hasn't happened.
It's like,
dude averages 24 and 8.
But if you're looking at the boxes you can tick. All of a sudden, TJ's starting to mimic JJ a little too much, and you're a little worried of like, if we give him a 4-year deal, is it a 4-year deal, or are we getting 2 years of TJ? And like,
is this like an old school baseball contract if we're paying you for what you did and not what you're going to do?
And the Steelers have never done that.
They don't do that. They don't like to do that.
That's why, but that's also in part why they've been so successful, is they don't go over that threshold and hang on to guys longer than they need to.
Maybe this is just a blip in the radar. Maybe in 2 years they're in the Super Bowl hoisting the Lombardi.
With Aaron Rodgers at quarterback still?
Doubtful. Highly doubtful. Hopefully it's me. All right, we come back. We'll wrap this bad boy up. It's Danny and Friends on 1080 The Fan.
Lonely and dreaming of the West Coast.
Non si può stopparlo.
I don't wanna be your down.
You ever been to a volcano?
I don't wanna be
God, I love that line.
You know, I was going to bid on some of the Grateful Dead shirts from Bill Walton.
Dusty ended up bidding on something. I don't think he ended up getting it.
They got a little. I got a little priced out.
Well, there was some stuff on there that actually went for relatively cheap that I was like, damn.
I was thinking about, once I become an old man and, build my nice smoking den in my house and having some Grateful Dead memorabilia on the wall and, like the poster of the shows I've been to. And then I could say, oh, up there on the wall, that was once worn by Bill Walton. Grandpa, nobody cares. Nobody knows who Bill Walton is.
I mean, those are the kind of things.
Had that dream.
Oh, yeah, no. Those are the kind of things that are the cool things they have in the office. Like, I've got some stuff in my office that I'll eventually put up.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's from this.
The same thing happened with David Lynch, the movie director, because he just died, and a bunch of his personal stuff went up for auction. So he died from emphysema, heavy smoker. So it was like people spending $1,000 on his ashtray in his living room because it's like that's his ashtray. And he had there was a record lot of a bunch of records he owned. And one of them was a first edition, the first solo album by Chris Isaak. Say what you want about Chris Isaak. Chris Isaak was an actor in a lot of David Lynch stuff. So to me, I'm like, oh man, that would be so rad to own his copy.
Very specific thing.
Yeah, a very niche thing, but own his copy of Chris Isaak's first record. That would be so fun. And the lot sold for like $2,500. And I was like, yeah.
It's one of those things where like
I ain't got a job right now. That ain't going to do nothing for me.
The who are the people that bid on O.J. Simpson stuff? You remember he held them all at gunpoint.
Oh yeah, the people he stole it back from.
But like bidding on that feels weird. Like
the OJ is weird.
Well,
like I don't know if I want
that's
OJ
like,
stuff.
I started thinking in my head of like who were like the worst people. Like
this is Aaron Hernandez's 100th football he caught at Florida.
Like, oh,
I'm gonna pass on that.
Well, there was the one where the YMH guys, Two Bears One Cave with Segura and Bert Kreischer. They kept one-upping each other on birthdays, and Segura went to like the black market and got a teacup from the Eagle's Nest, like Hitler's teacup. Like they have the provenance, and Kreischer loses it. He's like, "This is Hitler's teacup." It's like the most unhinged.
We have
gift.
to stop. We can't do this anymore.
And I was like, "Oh my god!" It's still one of my favorite bits that they've ever done. But like, I started thinking like this is so horrid. I was like, who? Like when you started bringing up directors, I was like, who goes and bids on like the Woody Allen stuff? And I'm just like, every single person that goes and bids should be put on a watch list.
Yeah, you're instantly on a list. Yeah, it's too bad too. I loved his movies.
But you know what I mean, like him and like Roman Polanski.
Yeah.
Like you're like, no, don't no. If you bid on this, you're going on the watch list.
This is Phil Spector's gun that he shot his wife with. You're like, oh
no. But you know what? It's crazy. There's people out there that like that stuff.
There is. It's
Not
special. It's a special type of weird. Well, today has been one of the crazier NBA days, and with so much action. But Danny, I was kind of banking on some breaking news going on during this show, but we haven't really had that,
buddy.
Did the baseball gods? Did the sports gods give us? Did they empty the tank this morning?
I don't think so, but it is eerily quiet right now.
I feel
quiet.
like they're like, okay, guys, things went real crazy. We had a lot of fun there, huh? But now it's time to go home. We're going to take a little afternoon siesta.
Well, Dame hitting the market it has no impact on this year, but you all of a sudden guys are restructuring. They're looking at the salary books and going, there. I'm telling you right now, there is not a shortage of suitors for Damian Lillard.
Well, and think about, we were kind of talking about this off the air. The Lakers deciding really not to spend money right now.
And Rob Pelinka basically saying that
we're waiting till next year.
2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and then you
have
2027. Yeah, 26, 27. Yeah. But like the whole idea is like LeBron put out that messaging, and there's been like this talk of him like trying to steer to Cleveland. Sure. I don't know how much I believe that, just because the machinations again that you would need to make it come to fruition. It's trying to shove a horse through a needle. Like it just doesn't. But it makes sense right now. But
it also comes around, like the Kevin Durant's will probably be pretty much done. The James Hardens in 2 years, the James Hardens will be pretty much done. Those guys of the world. And you start looking at who comes off the books, and the Lakers know they're going to put all their money in Luka. So what does that salary cap look like?
And they're looking
after
at
that.
Maximizing
they're now planning that. It's
weird because we've gotten away from having the max cap space, but the free agent crop is significantly better.
And it's almost like, damn it. Weaver just gave up a grand slam.
Yeah, there you go.
That guy's on my fantasy team.
Your fantasy team's just taking blows today.
Absolute devastation today.
But I think the Damian Lillard news has kind of put a pause to things.
Yeah, you think that was kind of the shock and surprise? I mean, and Miles Turner going to Milwaukee is a pretty big surprise to me.
Certainly raised some
eyebrows.
eyebrows.
Look, not having Hallie next year is a real tough spot for Indiana. A really tough spot for Indiana. Losing Turner as well. We thought we could see, obviously the Hallie injury changes everything, but we had talked about it in the shows we've done together. This Indiana OKC thing could have been kind of a cool rivalry.
Yeah, no, it would be fun.
Indiana has so much more work to do now.
Well, and Indiana did have the foresight during the finals to trade this year's draft pick to the Pelicans and get their own unprotected pick back for this next season. So if they find themselves in it, and this is a team under Herb Simon's ownership has never tanked. They might, talk about changing when you're talking about the Steelers and trying to recognize and read the tea leaves and kind of making some adjustments. Do the Pacers for the first time basically in their franchise's history, they've never had a number one overall pick.
Well,
are they all of a sudden looking around the room and going,
it's time.
I know we were just in the finals, but everybody saw what happened in Game 7. Everybody knows the deal. Can we actually have a gap year?
Well, I've heard you say this multiple times, that if the Boston Celtics get a top 5 pick, you're quitting the NBA.
Oh, God.
But is that not what they kind of look like they might be doing? Hey, Tatum's out for a year. Drew's gone. I don't think they'll move Jaylen Brown, but if they do,
I've heard some discussions that
your centerpiece is Jason Tatum, And while he's out, it wouldn't help to get a top 5 pick. A Boozer would look real nice, wouldn't he?
I mean, they've done pretty well with a guy from Duke that was one and done.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah.
Whether it's Darren Peterson from Kansas, whether it's Cam Boozer,
that's why that, like, who's the dude they got? Who's the big dude that the Warriors got? Wiseman.
Oh yeah, the played 12 games.
What an absolute brutal pick, because it's like, oh, you had a down year. Get someone real amazing.
It's not just, I mean, you look at a lot of their draft picks, and they remember that they were running on the 2 timelines deal, which has worked for literally nobody ever.
Yeah.
Light years, being light years ahead. But yeah, no, it's very interesting. As I've been, if you're watching on YouTube and you see me checking my phone all the time, I'm just trying to ask around. I'm like trying to figure out what is out there and what's being discussed. And it has gotten very quiet since this morning.
What is the best available right now?
Depends. Like if you're talking about the Lakers or the Charlotte Hornets, who are both in need of big men, you would imagine it does still sound like Al Horford is going to go to Golden State.
Hey, that sounds fun.
But like, is Horford now looking around like, well, there's multiple teams that could use me. I could use this as a leverage play, and like,
I'm down for an old man Warriors team.
I mean, Horford could still play.
Yeah,
and they've already moved on from Loondog. Kevon Looney's in New Orleans. Shout out to Looney, by the way. Looney has the same hip disease and issue that I do.
Brothers by degenerative.
The fact that he is not
brothers.
only playing but still as good as he is like we do not, when we talk about modern medicine, like miracles in sports. He is so far up there that the surgery he had is almost the exact same one that I had. And the fact that he is still not only like playing, but playing well and getting real money, shouts to him, man. Like, but what the hell the Pelicans are doing, I don't know.
No, I don't think anybody knows. That the draft was a real big kerfuffle, I think. I've been really enjoying the Bill Simmons podcast of late.
Yes, the Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver of it all.
The Bill Simmons WTF podcast for the last 2 weeks.
Like, what is going on in there?
I do love that there's a lot of NBA guys that are just, throwing it up and just saying, I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm just here for the ride. Give me the shoulder strap and let's buckle in and go 100 miles an hour.
As it pertains to the Trailblazers, it has been very quiet. And I will say the last couple transactions, whether it's buying out DeAndre Ayton.
Did you say Hayton?
Yeah, I did. I don't know why.
Freudian slip? Yeah. I think not.
I like DA as a dude.
Just joking.
He was always good to me.
I'm just teasing you.
He has his deficiencies.
There's too much ice outside.
Well, not just that. Like that one, I will actually go to bat for him.
Sure.
I know who went to go get him, and they're like, we couldn't. Like we had to park blocks away.
I think you told me this once.
They couldn't get out of there. Now he could have done other things to prevent that. Stay at a hotel the night before. Be aware. All those like that. Those things, yes. But like that particular night, I get it. But I will say for the Blazers, it has been absurdly quiet.
I have a feeling it's going to stay that way.
I don't
just
think
my own gut reaction.
I don't think they're making a big move. But
I think if
I'm monitoring it.
I think if dudes like Jeremy or Robert Williams get traded, that's going to be probably during the season.
We'll see where it goes.
I have a feeling this might just kind of hang out where it hangs out. How's traffic right now? My host? Oh no, I'm not going anywhere. I got the hot corner tonight from 7 to 9.
Hang out.
It's Tuesday. I'm not going to hang out here.
No, okay.
No, I'm not going to hang out here. I'm going to go.
Questioning your commitment.
You questioning my commitment? My 5 hours of radio today commitment? How dare you, sir? How dare you? I'm going to go somewhere and cry about my fantasy baseball team.
There you go.
Yeah, tune in tonight, the Hot Corner, 7 to 9. Joe Fisher and I with you. Thanks to Dusty, as always, for letting me hold the reins for his show. I'm Patrick Harris. That's Danny Meringue. Primetime is next from 3 to 7. That's Rust on the ones and twos. Go do something I would do.
Bye. When you had a firm grasp with 2 hands, my butt might as well have been a suction cup. Hoop Summit.
Thanks to our fan listeners for making the 11th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms a success.
Thank you to all our sponsors. Thank you to all the people that have come out and play at this. And, of course, to Langdon Farms.
Thanks also to